All right, so it's a little after 5:30. Do we want to go ahead and dive in? Is Bo on and everybody?
Yeah, I'm here.
We need to.
Hi, Bo.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, Bo.
We're hanging in. So let's see. Preston, do you want me to go ahead and call the meeting to order and all that?
Yes, sir, please.
All righty. I will gavel the regular town council meeting of Wednesday, October 14th, 2020 to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Council members Cheek,
Here.
Grambley,
Here.
Lakin,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Schuyler,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. Okay, I understand that we have an executive session tonight.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, will you read us the citation?
Yes, if we could get an executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding the enforcement of the Town of Ridgway Municipal Code and uses within the residential zone district.
So moved.
Let's see, I heard Eric, somebody else said at the same time.
I'll second that.
F seconds. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Cheek,
Aye.
Grambley,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Okay. We are now in executive session. Do we need to change anything about the recording, Preston or Bo?
I think Preston's got some of the recording aspects, but there may be a party or two that needs to be
Oh, yeah, Robin Shank and Shane Jordan. You guys, if you can hear me, Robin and Shane, we're going into executive session, so we're gonna have to sign you out. You can sign back in around 6.
And Krista.
And Krista. Thanks, guys. Sorry for the confusion. We'll see you in a half an hour or so.
You're hanging up, right?
And Bo, should I pause the recording for this particular item?
Yeah, this constitutes attorney-client privilege communication. So I'll tell you when to pause. Let me give my little preamble here, if you will. So
Great.
It is October 14th, and the time is now 5:35 p.m. For the record, I am the town attorney. As required by the open meeting law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. Also present at the executive session are the following persons. Council Member Tessa Cheek, Council Member Terry Schuyler, Council Member Beth Lincoln, Council Member Russ Meyer, Council Member Kevin Grambley, Mayor Pro Tem Eric Johnson, Mayor John Clark, and Town Manager Preston Neal. This is an executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice with respect to the enforcement of the Town of Ridgway Municipal Code and uses within the residential zone district. I caution each participant to confine all discussions to the stated purpose of the executive session and that no formal action may occur at the executive session. If at any point in the executive session, the participant believes that the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the executive session, please interrupt the discussion and make an objection. As the town attorney, it is my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced of the motion to go into executive session constitutes a privileged attorney-client communication. Therefore, it is my recommendation that we cease the recording.
It's going.
The time is now 5:59 p.m. We will conclude the executive session and return to the open meeting.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to give it just a couple minutes. Staff, go ahead and start letting people back in. And we'll get started in just a minute here, folks. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay.
All righty then. Welcome everybody to the regular October Town Council meeting, October 14th. We've already had a roll call and a short executive session, so we are back in regular session now, and we'll proceed with the agenda. So first off, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, it's Preston. I have one. We're on additions or deletions, right?
Yes.
I'd like to request removal of item 9. That's the proclamation declaring the Southwest Fields in Ridgway Athletic Park as Frontier Field. Staff is looking for some additional time to explore and navigate this item with the agent of the major donor of the Athletic Park Pavilion.
Okay, so that's a, we're pulling that for now. We're postponing that discussion. Anything else? That's item number 9, correct?
Yes, sir. Nothing else from me.
All right, bear with me a second. Okay, that takes us to, excuse me, adoption of the consent calendar. Is there anything on there anybody wants to pull off, or is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second thought.
I think I heard Terry make the second first. Just beat you by a hairbreadth there, Kevin. So motion's been made and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselors Cheek, Grambley,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer, Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Clark. Oh, excuse me, not Mayor Clark.
Yeah, I don't get to vote.
Yeah, you don't get to vote.
All right, so that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is comments. Establish time on the agenda for public to address council on anything that is not otherwise on the agenda. I'll look for a hand up if anybody wants to address us about something that's not on the agenda. I see Robin Shank. Could you unmute her, please? There you go. Whoop. Try again, unmute. Robin.
Mayor and Pro Mayor Temp, I think is
There
what
you
you
go.
said. Sorry
There you go.
about my voice, and city council members. I met most of you last year, about a year and a half ago. Mary Plum and I came forward to share the details of the Running on Kindness event and asked permission to place the boulder. I want to thank you for your support. It was a great day, and we were sad that we had to cancel it this October due to COVID. That's just a little grounding. I live in Solar Ranch with Shane Jordan, who's also on the call. And my full-time job is an implementation science consultant and coach with the Colorado Department of Education. My passion, if you don't know, is dogs. I love dogs. I'm an advocate. Some would call me a trainer. And I have 3 rescue dogs in my home that I spend a lot of time with, learning to be the best pack leader that I can be. I'm here tonight to share a growing concern of mine, and and that is the conflict and the charging between off-leash and on-leash dog owners. Before I start, I would like to recognize the hard work that I can see in the wording of the brochure that has been done in the past. I think it is incredibly well thought out, very clear to follow, and reasonable expectations for all. The reason this is surfacing again in our home is on Monday morning, just before 8 o'clock on the west side of Sabeta Drive. I was walking my dog on leash when a woman with 2 dogs off leash approached, and one of the dogs retreated on voice command. The other dog did not, and it charged my dog, and the woman did not have a leash. So when I look at this, yes, Sabeta Drive is in the off-leash area. She did not yield to the dog on leash, and she did not have her dog on voice control, and she did not have a leash in her hand. Because of that, my dog, who is fine when dogs walk by and leave him alone, but does not understand what his position is when he is false charged by a dog. His instinct is to protect. So he charged back to get the dog to retreat, and I was caught off guard because of the willow bushes, the bushes on the side. And that surprise pulled me to the ground. I hit my head. I sustained a concussion. I have abrasions from my hip down to my toes. Some trauma related to it. I missed a day of work with the Colorado Department of Education, and I had to seek medical care. In addition, my eyeglasses, which were just bought, were broken. I'm not here to locate the woman or seek a fine. I'm here to state that multiple times this has happened to myself and to Shane. On one instance, he was actually chased down the road by a dog off leash, and I have been almost treed by a dog. None of those incidences or the 3 others that I could go into, the owners had a dog leash or had their dogs on voice command. So my systems thinking tells me, why is this? What is the problem? We have a very clearly articulated guidance from the city. And my assumption is twofold. One, there's a lack of understanding and education. I'm not sure when this document was created. I don't know what the communication plan was or what the continuous communication is for those that move into our community. But I can tell you that 3 of those times, the owners said outright that Ridgway is an off-leash city. So that tells me there's a misunderstanding and a lack of knowledge around this document. The second thing is we don't have an animal control or any way to report incidents. So we don't have any data to let us know how significant this is. I can tell you from my yard, I witness it often. Some of the leashed owners are elderly. I've seen 2 men get in a fist fight between a dog on and off leash. So the problem is here. It's not going to get away. And my second reason for believing there's a problem is not having clear transparency on how to report, and not report necessarily to be them against us, but to have data to really help drive the location, the incident, the time. Maybe a dog needs special training off leash. So I'm also a solution-based thinker. We have a problem, and I'm not willing to come here and say there's a problem and not be a part of the solution. My solution ideas are to create a committee of on and off leash dog owners and residents who are concerned also, and have hard conversations and make some changes. One real simple change to the current document. The only issue that I have with it is on the back. When you look at the areas that are on and off leash, there is no safe way. And by safe, I mean there's no leash area from my home on Sabeta Drive to the on leash area. So when she yelled at me and said Ridgway is an off leash city and this is off leash, she doesn't know about yield, turn, leash, and voice command. So she's only citing what she knows. There is no way for me to walk safely and have the expectation that she's going to have her dog on leash if she's not going to follow the other areas. Today, when I was driving back, because I have now been driving, I have clocked 62 miles since Monday. My dogs have to walk. I'm injured. I know I can't afford to be exposed again. So I'm driving out of the area, which puts me at risk on the highway. And when I came back in the leashed areas, there were 3 dogs off leash and no one in that area had a leash in their hand. I watched one of them drive in their car and drive away. So I believe we have a lack of knowledge and communication. I took 25 of your brochures and put them in visible spots just because I wanted to at least feel like I was doing something to help people understand that we do have a very good guideline and we all need to follow it so we can be safe. On this committee, maybe we could revisit the idea of a dog park. I've heard stories and conversations about past efforts for that. Maybe we could create some leash areas to help us get to the leashed areas, develop a communication plan that is revisited every year. Perhaps Airbnbs would have the brochure in it, closing documents for housing.
Robin, can I interrupt?
Yes.
I apologize. We have a long agenda in front of us tonight.
I understand. Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting. I think your comments are all spot on. Many of us on council have long memories of the discussions we've had about dog leash issues, and in some ways it never changes. That there are some dog owners that you just can't convince otherwise about things like this. And while I totally agree that we need to revisit, probably need to find a little better education program. And I like your idea of creating a committee to try and explore what we can do to better educate people. As somebody who rides my bike all over the area a lot, I see people out on the river trail with dogs unleashed, and I try and remind them that they're supposed to be unleashed, and I get all variety of responses, from polite to extremely angry. And you are unfortunately just another person who's been injured through an incident like this, and I'm really sorry to hear that. It's happened far too often, and we need to continue to try and do something about it.
Mayor, it's Preston, if I may. I just wanted to say, Robin, I really appreciate your comments. I very much like the opportunity to follow up with you here in the coming days. Heard you say or assert lack of understanding or communication around leash laws, just the issue as a whole. I could work with staff and the marshal in particular on perhaps pushing that information a little more regularly or focusing on that here in the short term and long term as well. Point is, I hear you and don't want your comments to go unnoticed or swept under the rug. So I very much appreciate the chance to work on that and then follow up with you in the coming days.
Thank you.
So Robin, just for a little, this is Eric Johnson, just a little historical perspective. When we last visited this legislatively, there was a lot of back and forth. And there actually was a committee of dog owners at the time that really weighed in on the on the process. And, you know, the ordinance went everywhere from literally requiring a leash everywhere in town to a bit of a compromise, which put some parts of town off leash. And the leash part of town was actually an expansion, fairly significant expansion from the previous ordinance as well. And I hear you. I mean, it's, you know, I've got dog, and it's a pain when somebody's off their leash and you just never know what that dog's going to do. So yeah, I think if you can get together with Preston a bit and move forward, I think we're all on your side with this issue. At least I'm on your side with this issue. I can't speak for the rest of the council.
I'm virtually certain that we're all in agreement that this is an issue we have to continue to grapple with, and we 100% hear you and empathize with you, and are so sorry to hear that you were injured and broke your glasses. I mean, that shouldn't happen. That literally should not happen. And so you, I think, should hear from us that, should be hearing from us that we are 100% behind you in trying to continue to fine tune our system, make sure people understand their responsibilities. There's always going to be what I might call the bad eggs that just refuse to listen or admit that their dog isn't just perfect. And I can promise you that we will do what we can to do things so that they're better. I see Krista, another person who helped us through this previously a lot, have her hand up. Krista, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Robin, I'm sorry to hear that happened. I am also a professional trainer here in town. And like you, I love the ordinance. Part of my problem is that people don't adhere to it. Many times their dogs can do commands and all that, but people don't use it. So yeah, I would love to work with you on that. And I agree, there's, you know, I went to, before when we talked about this, went to Jeff and Tammy to get documentation of the incidences in town to see exactly what was happening and how many were human attacks, dog attacks, to get my hands around it, to try to come up with something to help, training or whatever. And the system did not document to that level. They could say there were this many that were animal related, but they couldn't say, was it a dog pooping in the park or was it an attack or what? And maybe our system is better on that, but I would be delighted to work on that, because I love the ordinance. I love the heart of the ordinance, and I think it's very doable. I think you just have a lot of people that don't require their dogs to do it, or, you know, if there's training that needs to happen, then great, you know, let's do that. But again, Robin, sorry. I'm very sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. I look forward to talking with Preston and also Krista. Is it Krista or Krista?
Krista.
Great. Thank you so much. In the meantime, you might check out Boulder. They have got an incredible voice site program that is second to none, and it might be something that we could discuss in the future. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Robin. We'll keep working on it. You can be sure of that. All right. Anybody else have a public comment, something that you want to address council about that's not otherwise on the agenda? Hopefully everybody knows how to unmute themselves, raise their hand if they need to. I don't see any other hands up, so we'll move along. That brings us to public request and presentation. Item number 5 is appeal of decision to charge excise development tax for minor subdivision at 423 Amelia Street. This item has Dan Bartash's name on it, but I believe some staff will need to give us a little background maybe as well.
Yeah, this is Shay. I'm happy to provide any background if helpful. I know you guys have a long agenda tonight. There's some details in the staff report if we need to get into them, but otherwise I'll let Dan speak.
Okay, Dan, take it away.
Okay, as everybody knows, I did a minor subdivision back in August, I believe it was. And my appeal is based upon the fact that I believe staff made an erroneous interpretation and decision on the $1,500 tax. They charged me for both lots, and the ordinance says that if there was a dwelling unit on the premises prior to July 1st of 1999, that one is not to be charged. Their interpretation was based on the fact that I replaced my home in 2003. The home that I replaced was put here in 1976, and in 2003, I removed that house, put a foundation down, and had another home brought in. And I just don't think that was the intent of the ordinance. I mean, I'm not sure anybody ever thought that this would come up, but charging me $1,500 for the one lot I created, the new lot, I understand that, but not the existing lot where a home was.
So basically your point is that you did a minor subdivision creating a second lot from what was just a single lot, but that one of the two new lots already had a home on it, and so therefore, in your opinion, shouldn't be subject to the excise tax. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Council, does anybody have questions for either Dan or staff about this? Need clarification or want to make any comments about it?
So Dan, council putting an end date on exemptions for existing structures, to me, would seem to indicate that council, when the excise tax was created, meant for structures built after July 1st, 1999 to fall under that. So can you help clarify for me why a house permitted in 2002 wouldn't fall under the excise tax?
Because there was a home here. There was a home on the lot.
Well, many lots in Ridgway have had a house that may not exist anymore, but there was one historically there.
Well, those, yeah.
I'm just, there was a differentiation made, so I'm trying to figure out where that line would be if it's not in the letter of the law.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that 4 to 6 week removal of a house constitutes a vacant lot. I mean, I continue to pay taxes. I continue to pay a water and sewer bill.
But did you get a new certificate of occupancy for the house in 2002?
Yes.
So that was not an existing dwelling unit. It was a new dwelling unit in 2002.
Yes, that is correct. It was a new, yes, replacement. I'd prefer to.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
Well, if indeed the excise tax was due, wouldn't it have been due back in 2002? Depending on what if they felt that was due at the time, wouldn't it have been due then?
No, because a new lot wasn't created, Russ.
The excise tax applies at when lots are created. In other words, say there's a vacant lot here in the old part of town that somebody builds a new house on, they don't pay an excise tax when they put up that new house. Am I right, staff?
Correct.
Well, just to play, I like to pick on myself in these situations. Shay, if I subdivided my lot into 2 lots, I would pay an excise tax on both lots, right? Because my house was built in 2017.
Correct.
And I think, never mind.
But well, it doesn't apply to lot split, so it depends where your home is.
Right. So no, mine would just be a lot split. But I'm, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Right.
Not necessarily, but because you have 3 lots, I believe. So if you drew those, there are some nuances.
I can't because I built over the one, but it's fine.
Right.
I get what you're saying.
Right. I mean, the idea is it's when you read the kind of purpose statement or intent in 341A. It's the tax upon the privilege and business of creating subdivisions for residential development. And it's due at the time of subdivision. So if that helps clarify anything, I find that a little bit helpful.
So Shay, I have a question. So there are a lot of, we've approved this in several cases where in town there are three there's these corner lots that have 3 lots, and we've actually split those lots. And in some cases it hasn't been just a lot split, it's been creation of a minor subdivision. And in some cases there were existing homes on half of that lot. And in those cases, has the excise tax been paid on the existing home as well as on the new lot as well?
Yeah, so a lot split also falls in our subdivision regulations.
Okay.
Anytime we change property lines, that's all part of 7.4, our subdivision regs. So like the most recent example was Ellen Hunter's property, and it was exactly that, Eric, a corner lot. She divided the 3 or 4 lots, perpendicular to the way they lay. But her lot, where her home is and the home she lives in, was built in like the early 1900s. So excise tax was due for the new lot, but her house was built way before 1990. It was never replaced. It may have been rehabbed a little bit, but there was never a new CO or effectively a new dwelling unit built after that 1999 date.
And the same was true for my house, and that's the corner that's split on here. So, and I guess, Dan, as I think about it, when we look at the code and when we look at, the building codes and talking about substantial change to a structure, often requiring it being brought up to complete, the entire structure being brought up to complete code, then you replace the whole house. And that seems fairly substantial to me.
It was.
I mean, I sympathize with you, but I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that you have a leg to stand on, to be blunt.
So Shay, there's no other similar precedent that's
Say that
similar.
again, Terry?
There's no other similar precedent to this exact circumstance then, Shay?
Not that I have come across, but I think the code language is, it's clear to me, you know how code is, it can read different to everybody, but it specifically says, this excise tax is due less the number of existing dwelling units in existing buildings as of July 1, 1999, which I believe is when that section was put into place saying, okay, if you've already built, we're not going back and charging everyone, but from here on out, we are.
And yeah, I mean, the purpose of this is to help. I mean, it says in the code that we're going to raise revenue for financial resources for streets, transportation, parks, recreation, police, and other facilities. Like I think the code's pretty clear here that this is a lot that excise tax should be charged on or collected on, I guess.
Okay, it was mainly the ordinance was for the impact of all of those things that you just mentioned.
And I understand that, but I'm not seeing a way that the exceptions apply to this situation.
But that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, and that's me speaking. I mean, the council as a whole will have to weigh in.
And I guess I would throw out just, I can empathize with Dan's position here in terms of the unique circumstance of there having been a structure on that entire piece of property that predated the 1999 date. And at one point he replaced it quickly. There was no vacancy period where he moved away or something like that. And his question to us is that what we intended, to have the excise tax have to apply in an unusual case like this, where there was a structure that predated the 1999 date, and at one point shortly after 1999, he just simply replaced it or upgraded it, I guess he might say. Is that what we intended? Is that really meet the intent of the excise tax paying for the impact of new lots? I think we have to ask ourselves that question.
You were the only one on council then.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to ask me, I would say, I don't think that's what we intended. I really don't.
Is there any mechanism for a financial compromise? Something less than 1,500?
Hey Shay, and I also have a question too. In the ordinance, it looks like there was another ordinance passed in 2010 that said all subdivision plats shall contain town-approved plat notes indicating the number of units for which the excise tax has been paid, giving notice that if any additional units are added, the excise tax shall be due with the building permit or upon any further subdivision. Was that on our plat notes for this subdivision?
It should have been, and I can confirm that.
Sorry to look at a detail. I'm just
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm looking right now.
I believe it was. I don't have it in front of me either, but
This is a tricky one. It's historic residential, but it's Yates. Throws me off every time. Okay, I'm opening it right now. Yes, plat note 6.
thought it was there.
Yeah, good memory, Dan.
Yeah. Well, Shay, you're very thorough. Good job.
There's an original list.
You're welcome.
So can we ask Bo to weigh in on this a little bit since it is a
Sure.
ordinance?
Well, were you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just on mute, and I'm happy to weigh in. I think, frankly, Shay's done a really good job with her report and kind of the basis of this excise tax here. This was something that was discussed when Dan went through the development process, and I think, like everybody, we certainly have some sympathy, but we're looking at an application of or interpretation of the code. So.
It's a tough one.
So this sort of draws to mind our situation not very long ago where there's a surcharge for tap fees across the river. And this council stood pretty firm that that was in the code and should have come up earlier in the process. And so I guess we've already approved this piece. I guess we have to figure out where we draw the line on intent and all of those pieces, and when questions like this need to come up in the subdivision process.
Well, it sounds to me like this came up at the appropriate time in the.
Okay.
I mean, Shay, this wasn't an afterthought. It was that when you pointed out to Dan that he was going to have to pay.
Okay.
It was paid. Yeah.
For both lots, he said, okay, I'll pay so that I can get my plat recorded, but I'd like to appeal that ruling.
How it kind of typically happens is we have a conversation. I explain my view. If it's not agreed with, then the conversation is with Preston and, make sure that view is kind of the same. And then if the person wants to take it to council, they can take it to council. But I think, Dan had asked long ago when we were doing this, when I try to warn people early of fees so they don't get too surprised. And he did bring it up a while ago, but he also was in a rush, wanted to get that thing finished and done. I can't help but point out Dan's also in a unique position in that he is giving or selling this property to the subdivided property to his son. Most of the time when a subdivision is created, you just can pass that $1,500 on to the person you sell the lot to. So because Dan is, gracious and choosing to keep this in the family and do that, it's, it feels like probably a more cost than it would if you could just pass that $1,500 on to, selling it off to someone else.
Yeah, so unfortunately, somebody has to make a motion.
Well, as much as I hate to make the motion, in particular given all Dan's years of service to the town, and as much as I sympathize with him, I think the ordinance is clear on this. And I move that we deny the request to
Wait,
eliminate the excise tax.
I'll second that.
okay, motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselors Cheek,
Aye.
Bramley,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, there you go. Sorry, Dan.
It's all right. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. All right, that brings us to item number, a public hearing. This is, well, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. Public hearing, item number 6, application replat, location SKS condominiums, unit A and B, formerly Solar Ranches, 2B, lot 87D, address 602 Tabernacle Lane, units A and B, zone low density residential, applicant Kristen Adams, owners Kristen L. Adams and Stephen P. Schroeder. Shay, are you leading us off on this one?
Yeah, so this one is fairly straightforward. The Planning Commission reviewed this at the regular meeting in the last couple of weeks and recommended approval to Town Council with some conditions of changes that need to be made to the plat map before it can be recorded. The application here is that this property, which is a duplex lot in Solar Ranches, was once condoized and made into 2 different units. So each unit of this duplex could be owned separately. The owners have actually remained the same for both units. And the idea here is to basically remove that condo plat and go back to one property with a duplex on it, where the owners of both of the units currently would still be the owners of both of the units. So fairly straightforward, but happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I guess my question is, why?
Yeah,
Just-
and it may be something, I don't know if the applicant is on the call today. What I was explained is it was a financing thing. They went to refinance, and for some reason the bank was, and it was Alpine Bank, I believe, said, we're not refinancing those as condo units, or so there was some hiccup in there, and the solution was to get rid of that condo plat.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. We were, well, at Planning Commission.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
like having more flexibility to sell off one unit is always nice, but that we talked about those downsides as well with the applicant to be sure they understood that, because ideally this won't come back to us to be another condo plat in another couple of years.
That's my only question.
Any other questions? Somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the replat for SKS condominiums, a condominium subdivision of Lot 87D, Solar Ranches, number 2B, for owners Kristen Adams and Steve Schroeder at 602 Tabernash Lane, units A and B, with the condition that all edits to the plat map as detailed in the Planning Commission staff report be completed before the final plat can be recorded per the municipal code. Conditions must be met within 90 days.
I'll second that.
Great. Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselors Cheek,
Aye.
Brambley,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Great, thank you. That passes unanimously. That takes us on to our long slate of policy matters tonight. Item number 7 is the first one. Review, discussion, and action on the Memorandum of Understanding, otherwise known as an MOU, between Uray County and Town of Ridgway, re the 2021 operational funding request for road bridge apportionment from county to town and future goals. Preston?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll go ahead and introduce this. We have Ms. Connie Hunt and the county commissioners, or at least some of the county commissioners here with us tonight. So I want to thank them for taking the time. Late last year, the town and the county entered into, as you said, Mayor, an MOU regarding 2020 operational funding requests, road and bridge apportionment from the county to the town, and a variety of future goals. The term of that MOU is for calendar year or fiscal year 2020. The MOU says that the parties would meet in the fall of 2020 to reconsider for the 2021 budget year, which is why we're here. So I'll go ahead and unmute Commissioner Tisdale, Ms. Connie Hunt, and is Mr.
Don
Chair Don Batchelder here? I thought I saw him earlier.
Yep, he's on feedback.
And Connie, do you have anything to add?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, and I don't know if my commissioners want to start off first, and then whenever you need me, just ask me a question.
Can someone unmute Don, please? Don Batchelder? It's under D, but there you go. Oh, for a second. There you go. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And just for my council's information, particularly the newer members, this is something that's been going on for many years. We pass this MOU every year, and we share costs for things like mosquito control, road bridge apportionment payment, stuff like that. So this is something that's been ongoing for a long time, but we do always take the opportunity some point in the fall to revisit, make sure everybody on the same page goal-wise and all of that. So county commissioners, do you have anything you want to change or anything you want to add or other comments?
Just, John, just one brief comment. You are correct. This has been ongoing for a number of years. Prior to that point, the relationships the county had with the municipalities was pretty informal and off the books. And since it created some confusion periodically, and since we entered into this process, things have operated pretty smoothly.
I would agree.
Yeah, and I'd say we've got a great relationship between the county and the town, and partly because of this process. So I'd like to congratulate the town of Ridgway on having the highest census response rate in the county. First of all, there's one more day to get it improved, but a couple of things that I thought of as I was sitting here kind of reviewing this earlier today that might be kind of timely additions because of COVID or because of other things that we've had going on. On the third bullet point, so mostly these are related to collaborative efforts for 2021. So on the second page, I would add to collaborate on regional sustainability. We discussed earlier in the commissioner's special meeting, entering into the economic recovery kind of consulting contract for COVID. Potentially adding the words and economic recovery plan from the COVID situation or COVID-19.
I think that's a good edit.
Should that be, I just question, did this bullet point collaborate on regional sustainability? Were we referring to like environmental climate sustainability? And then now we're talking about economic, adding an economic sustainability portion?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. I think actually maybe that what I added could be, if you look at the bottom of this page too, the fourth bullet point from the bottom says continue to combat and mitigate the effects of COVID-19. Maybe that should go in there.
Yeah, I think that, because I don't want us to dilute the idea of environmental sustainability.
Right.
But
and so to further kind of to clarify that point on the third bullet point from the top, collaborate on regional sustainability, we could add the words including efforts or including participation on the Snuffles Energy Board, which I know Mayor Clark and I are both appointed to attend, and we do.
That does as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Then 3 points below that one that we were just looking at, collaborate on regional sustainability. There's an incomplete sentence, affordable housing, work collaboratively to identify opportunities for affordable, and we should have the word housing, I think.
It needs to match what's in attachment 1. I've already documented that for the manager, and they're supposed to update that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Russ. This is Preston. I think it's supposed to read, based on what the 2020 MOU says, work collaboratively to identify opportunities for affordable housing with the influx of state funding commencing in 2020.
Okay, so we just need to.
That's what our.
What was that? The influx of what, Preston?
The influx of state funding commencing in 2020.
Thank you.
And of course, all that's changed with COVID. But.
That's all changed, but it's still, the fund remains there. It's been a little bit raided by some other legislative things. Work together on regional broadband efforts and I'd say regional and intra-county broadband efforts, since we have this this big middle mile project going on and some last mile projects going on. So I'd say regional and intra-county broadband efforts.
That's fine with me.
Then I'm sorry I have so many edits, but I was going through this with some ideas, and please, I don't think any of these will be controversial, but just to clarify, further a few points down from that, work together on regional transportation and transit, including park and rides. Do we want to specify that those are specifically for the Bustang efforts, where the Bustang is landing in Ridgway?
I would leave it broad.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any harm in leaving it more broad.
Okay. A few points down from there, it looks like we have two things that are kind of similar, relating to source water and Ridgway ditch issues. There are 2 bullet points that look like they belong together, but I would add something about watershed health or wildfire mitigation efforts in that area.
So the last 2 bullet points in our copy are the ones you're talking about.
No, I think we're talking about the work together to regulate uses or activities allowed within or adjacent to the town's source water, and then the collaborate on outreach and communication.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
The last
properties covered by the ditch.
Yeah.
I have 4 more after that, John.
I know. Those are under future collaborative events. The Unless my copy's different than yours. The two
I have 4 more after those.
under 2020 collaborative efforts?
Oh, 20, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 2021, sorry.
Okay, so I'm gotcha. I see what you're doing. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm looking
So
at the one.
The 2021 efforts, there were 3 that were added in red line below the COVID-19 point in my document. So I don't know if we need to like kind of combine those 2 bullet points about the source water protection area, but whatever we do, it should include something about wildfire mitigation efforts within that source water protection area, I think.
Yeah. Can we just ask Connie and Preston to maybe wordsmith that? Because I do agree that's all surrounding Ridgway source water protection issues. And maybe we can get that cleaned up and combined rather than wordsmithing now.
Sure, I'd be happy to work with Preston.
Okay. That works. Thank you, Beth. Future collaborative efforts. Do we need to, so we did add the mention in continue to combat, mitigate the effects of COVID-19 and work together on this economic recovery plan, right?
Yeah, I would say including collaboration and economic recovery plan.
Yeah. And we approved in concept the draft contract with the consultant earlier today. So I think it's adequate to work with going forward, but pending your approval. So, but for future collaborative efforts, we say work together on countywide economic development and COVID disaster recovery efforts.
Yeah, that's a good edit.
That makes sense.
Okay, and then finally, I would suggest or request that we add under future collaborative efforts a new thing: work together on a potential countywide recreational master planning process.
That's super exciting. I think that's super cool.
It is, and I think we actually had that on one years ago, and I think it sort of fell off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
It keeps becoming more important, and it's important to collaborate and work together on it. So this may be a surprise to Don, that addition, but I apologize, but I think since it's topical and it's timely and it's part of everything that's we're addressing over the last few years and going forward, I think it merits a position on this.
Commissioner Tisdale, would you just read that one more time? I want to make sure I didn't miss a word.
Sure. Work together on a potential countywide recreational master planning process.
Okay, thanks. I did miss a word. Okay.
And Don, did I hear you say you're okay with that?
Yeah, to the degree that we revisit master plan and recreational plan as part of that, it only makes sense to include the municipalities within that.
No, I think it's a good idea. All right, thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Anybody on council have any comments or suggested edits or changes?
No, I think Ben made all the edits we can stand. No, those are good suggestions, Ben. Thank you.
With regards to the one edit on the COVID-19, I wonder if we should even broaden that and to include any other future health crises or pandemics or flus or, I mean, not the specific words, but I wonder if it should be even broader since we're only 6 months into COVID.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. At the same time, this is something we revisit every year, and just looking at the changes we're making from last year to this, I think we're probably okay, but I'm open to it.
Health emergencies, I don't know what the right term would be.
Well, and Terry, I think up higher we have a work collaboratively with multi-agency coordination group on emergency management. And there's definitely going to be some lessons that come out of COVID that we could apply to disasters of all types, not just public health disasters.
But I tend to agree with Terry. I think some specific mention of public health over and above COVID probably makes some sense in there. Particularly given the size of our county and the limitations that, we have a very small public health department. I think it makes sense to sort of just memorialize that a little bit. Because this, public health emergencies are not always going to be a pandemic. They can be something locally. So might be worth just broadening that a little bit. I think that's a good suggestion, Jerry.
So something like continue to combat / mitigate the effects of COVID-19, comma, as well as any other future potential public health crisis.
Something, then kind of, yeah. Issues.
And then also, we already had added to that about the economic
Right.
recovery, right? Maybe that's something we can throw to Connie and Preston to wordsmith based on the suggestions.
Sure. We got it, John. We got it.
What I would suggest is that continue to combat, mitigate the effects of COVID-19, including the disaster / economic recovery plan, and collaborate or work together on to mitigate any future public health or pandemic related issues, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preston, are you okay with working that out with Connie?
Yeah, I was writing furiously. I think Connie and I will work that out. Thank you, Commissioner Tisdale.
Thanks, Preston. Yep. So that's it from me. I think.
Thank you so much, Ben and Don, for both being here. It's super helpful to have a couple of you to look at things with.
Sure.
I agree.
It's great to work with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
But,
awesome.
and I agree. I have to echo what Don said at the beginning was, I think the town of Ridgway and the county have had remarkably good working relationship for all the years I've been on council, which is
Decade. Yeah.
approaching 18. I tout that to other places when I talk to other public officials in other places, and they're always a little bit amazed. So
I agree.
Good.
We appreciate the relationship we have with the county for sure. All right, so if I am not hearing any other comments or suggestions, somebody want to make a motion to approve this as edited, or maybe the motion needs to be to authorize staff in coordination with county staff to fine tune with the changes we've made and
No.
Mayor, it's Preston. I think there's a proposed motion at the bottom of the memo that I think will suffice as long as whoever makes the motion identifies with the modifications agreed to by all parties.
And this is Shay. I have one question, and I'm sorry if you guys covered it. I stepped away for a second. The bullet item under 2021 collaborative efforts, maybe 2/3 of the way down, work together to update the 2002 town county land use IGA to follow up on the master plan process. We did that. Did you guys already talk about it, or something I'm missing on that item?
No, that's why we need you, Shay.
Yeah, we took care of that, I believe, and updated the map, but I can definitely confirm that and get that information to Preston in case that needs to be removed.
Do you want to have a new section that says accomplishments?
No.
I was going to say yes.
That's going to be too long, and oftentimes when all you focus on is accomplishments, you don't focus enough on collaborating.
I could go either way. I mean, I agree with Don that if we start wanting to add a section on accomplishments, it's gonna take another 3 or 4 pages to, because
I don't know that
that's
it's a,
great about our relationship, but Eric?
It is
Oh,
supposed to be
sorry,
a
John.
forward-looking document, and I
Yeah.
think that's, you know, in another place we can capture our accomplishments if we want to, but if we want to move that into a separate like place to capture what we've accomplished on our collaborative efforts, then that's fine.
It could be a hyperlink.
ditto. Ditto, Ben.
Sounds good.
Okay,
So we good for a motion now?
we are.
I move to approve the MOU between Uray County and Town of Ridgway regarding 2021 operational funding requests, road and bridge apportionment from county to town and future goals with modifications and subject to approval of the Town of Ridgway 2021 fiscal year budget.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Cheek.
Aye.
Rambley,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Connie.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Appreciate
Thanks,
Pleasure
all.
working with you guys.
Thank you guys.
Always.
All right, have a good evening.
You too. Thanks so much.
Think of us in a couple hours when we're still working.
I will, John.
Is there a joint policy group meeting tomorrow night? Did I see it?
There is.
There is.
So I guess.
Yeah, if you're coming back in a couple hours, bring beers.
Okay. Got it.
And I think we
Fair enough.
should talk about maybe going to once a month on the policy group. Just throw that out.
Bring it up tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
I like that idea. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
All righty then, that takes us to item number 8, which is interviews with the Youth Advisory Council candidates and appointment of 5 members. I find this very exciting, and I believe we have most, if not all, of the candidates on the call with us tonight. Preston, did you want to kick this off for us?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I echo what you said. This is really exciting. And as most of you should, or all you should remember back, I think it was July, you all approved a resolution establishing a brand new committee, the Town of Ridgway Youth Advisory Council. So the town solicited applications for membership on that committee. The town received 5 applications. The applicants are, and I apologize if I butcher any of your names, please forgive me, but Anna Barchi, Emma Burwanger, Christian Lindler, Nerea McNitt, and Emily Taylor. 4 of the 5 are here with us tonight for brief interviews. Emma Burwanger is not able to join, but when it's her turn, I'm gonna share my screen and play a video that she prepared for you all. It's about 3.5 minutes long. I was talking with John, and we thought that would be a good substitute since she wasn't available this evening. The interview order is organized alphabetically by last name. So we'll start with Anna, and then we'll end with Emily. I'll try to keep track of time. I mentioned brief interviews. The aim, at least in my line of thinking, was 5 minutes for you all to ask any and all questions you think be appropriate to ask these applicants, and then deliberate on how to move forward with the appointments. Does that all make sense? And does that sound good?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Preston.
Cool. Well, Anna, you're on the clock. So I'm gonna unmute you and invite you to share share your video if you feel comfortable doing that. You don't have to do that if you don't feel comfortable.
I am all good with it.
Great. Well, I'll turn it over to you, Mayor.
Okay. Hi, Anna. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
Welcome. And Council, you all have the applications from each of these applicants with their answers to the questions. But on top of that, I will open it up for anyone that wants to ask other questions or ask Anna to elaborate on any of the questions she's already answered. Does anybody have anything they want to ask Anna?
Hi, Anna, this is Terry. So in your opening paragraph, you talk about protecting nature for future generations. What sort of ideas do you have for Ridgway?
There's a couple things that like we as a school are already doing. We have this group called EnviroCycle, and we're starting like a compost this year, and we're trying to do like bike to school days where like classes can get points for not driving to school on certain days, and just like bringing more stuff like that into the community, like trail pickup days, anything like that where we can just take a little more time to like think about the environment and how we're treating it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Not hearing any. Beth?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what are some specific strengths that you think you can bring to the Youth Advisory Council? What makes you a really great fit for this opportunity?
I think I could work really good on a team and be able to give opinions without being like overbearing or anything. And I think that I could bring like a good perspective as a high school student into the town and like give you guys what my perspective is. So I don't know, just bring more ideas to the table. Stuff along the lines of that.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Looks like everyone else is satisfied with your questions so far as submitted.
So I have one quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
You're an 11th grader, is that correct?
Yes.
So would you have interest in doing this for more than 1 year?
Yeah, I would be open to that for sure.
Good to know.
Okay. Well, I would just like to say I really thank you very much for your interest and for submitting an application. We're really excited about this new aspect of the town government, and we're excited to interview all of you, but want to thank each and every one of you for stepping up and being willing to take it on as the inaugural class of the Ridgway Youth Advisory Council. So unless there's any other questions, I'll thank you and sign you off, and we'll go on to the next. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for considering me.
Of course.
Thank you, Anna. So next is Emma Berwanger, and she's the one who submitted a video. So give me 10 seconds and I'll get the video up and share my screen. And I'm hoping that that works. So hang on 1 sec.
Rocket.
So can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
And can you see a video of Emma?
No, we're seeing your Outlook screen.
You're seeing the what?
Your Outlook screen, your email.
Oh, you are. Okay, let's see. How about now?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
When you go to share your screen, you're usually offered a number of different applications to choose from. Hopefully you can. find the video program.
You know what? I'm going to keep trying to figure this out, and we're going to. Why don't we move on to Christian since he's actually here? Does that work? And I'll try to work out these kinks.
That's totally fine. So we will. There's Christian. Need to unmute him. There we go. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for submitting your application. As we've said before, we're really excited to be in this process. And we've got your application in front of us, and it looks great. But I'm going to open it up to council to see if anybody has additional questions or comments. Anybody? And I would say,
I'm going to repeat a question we just gave to Anna. You say you're passionate about the environment. What ideas do you have for Ridgway along those lines?
Well, I think that obviously seeing the California and Colorado fires, I think that showing the youth why fire regulation is so crucial is really important, because I think especially in such a dry landscape, you can see how like swiftly flames can just like devour a landscape. So I think it's really important to kind of ingrain in their minds that that's something that could affect us at any moment. So that's something I'm really passionate about.
Yep, I noticed the winds pour down your tent over the weekend.
yeah, it's been really windy. Anyone else? Looks like Beth might have one, but she's muted. No? There
Yeah, I was muted. I have a dog chewing on a bone, so I'm trying to entertain him for a second. I was just going to ask, just like I did before, what about you makes you a great person for this inaugural group of Youth Advisory Council members?
I think I'm absolutely really passionate about a number of issues in the community. And furthermore, I think I could be a great representative, not only for my own perspectives, but for the perspectives of all youth in Ridgway.
Awesome.
Okay, great.
You also mentioned taking on too much responsibility. Are you going to have the time for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 100%. I think when I said that, I was referencing within a group. I mean, sometimes I have often tried to take on too much, and that's definitely something I've worked on, and I think I've improved greatly at.
It's a good skill to learn.
Says the mayor.
It's somebody who wears way too many hats. Anybody else questions for Christian? Well, I can say somebody who has known you since you were a wee toddler. I'm really excited to see you as a senior and taking on this kind of community responsibility. It's really exciting. So thanks again for submitting, and we'll see if Preston's ready to show the video from the next candidate. Preston?
You know what? I don't think I figured it out yet. I'm still working on it, but Nerea would be next. And let's see, there she is. Is that all right with you, Mayor, if we just...
Yeah,
okay.
On to the next.
Hi.
Hi, welcome, Nerea.
Hi.
And like I've said before, thank you so much for submitting your application, showing your interest in this great thing that we're doing. We're all very excited about. And again, I will open it up to council for anybody who's got questions.
Okay.
This is Terry again. I'm just going to keep battling. So you say you're passionate about equality. Did you participate in the marches here recently in town?
The what, sorry?
The Black Lives Matter marches?
Yes, I did. Actually, some of my friends were the people who organized the movement, but I did participate in it, and I went on the walk, and then we sat in the park and we heard several stories from several volunteers who wanted to speak on that subject. And it was really moving to listen because it's such an important thing that's going on right now in the world.
It was a pretty historic time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There.
So I thank you for wanting to be involved in this. I noted on one of your weaknesses, I guess, your cons, were that you can get impatient when things aren't getting done.
Yeah.
And just having been associated with town government for a long time, town government tends to move slowly sometimes. How would you deal with things that don't seem to be moving along at the pace that you would like to see?
Well, the impatience matter was more for like me, for a personal thing. Like I like to set goals and I like to get them done. And when I see that I don't get them done, I often get frustrated at myself. But I was a student representative actually for the board meetings last year of our school, and I understand like the whole like moving slow. So I'm kind of familiar with that. So that really isn't an issue for me. The impatience was more like a personal weakness. Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's good clarification.
Yeah.
I wondered about that too. It's it can be frustrating seeing how slowly the wheels of government can turn, but
oh yeah, that's not a problem at all.
hopefully you guys can help us change that a little bit too. Anybody else have a question for Maria? Are we saying that right, Maria?
Nerea, yeah.
Right. All right, hearing none, I will thank you again for your submittal and your interest in serving the town this way. It's all just really, really cool. We're so excited about this.
Of course, thank you guys.
You're welcome. Preston, where are we at?
Let's go with Emily next.
Okay.
Hello. Sorry, I was trying to figure out my video.
There we go. We can see you now.
Yes.
And like I said to everybody else, thank you so much for your interest and your willingness to serve the town in this way and your application. And welcome. And then I'll ask council if anybody has any questions for Emily.
Thank you so much.
I know Emily a little bit because we're on Communities That Care together. So
Yes.
we've worked together on that for a while.
So Emily, you talked about the outrageously high price of water for small businesses and restaurants. Where did that perspective come from? How were you tuned in on that?
I work at the ice cream shop in town, Cafe Ridgway a la mode. And I have a lot of in-depth conversations with Torben, who's one of the owners there. And we like to talk about issues that are going on in the community that are affecting us. And he's always telling me about how the water is so expensive for not only him, but also the hotel, and how he has to turn off the water all of the time. And it's just a big issue that he has.
It is good.
Yeah,
of course, we're in extreme drought right now, which also further complicates the issue, right?
Yes, very much.
And we're just as frustrated by it as everyone else. We don't like having to make it as expensive as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a question for Emily? And I would say to all you guys, looks like Beth's got to get unmuted. She might have a question.
Yeah, Emily, you mentioned that you are very crafty and love to be creative. Does that extend to coming up with creative solutions to problems? And can you give us an example of a time where you did that?
Yes, I can. So recently, my dad passed away, and my uncle came down to help us with our financial situation. And he was staying in my room, and he has a CPAP bag. And my dog actually ate his CPAP bag and ripped it to shreds. And I had to make a whole new one with like very, very little sewing experience. And I was able to fix it along with some duct tape and hand stitching. And I think that that's a great example of creativity mixed with problem solving.
Like the Apollo astronauts.
That's really impressive.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. I see on your application that you had a question at the end. One question I have is, will the meetings be held over Zoom because of COVID-19? I'm guessing that they will be, at least initially, although I think that seeing how, well, I'd say seeing what a great job that Ridgway School is doing with their in-person efforts, we're open to you guys, again, using some of your problem-solving skills and your, if you're willing to try and make it work through a combination of mask wearing, social distancing, and potentially meeting outdoors in one of the great tents that the school's put up, maybe we could make that work. Because we were just saying at the beginning of this meeting, we all really hate that we're not able to meet in person. We all love being with each other, and this Zoom stuff is hard. It really is. So we're open to that.
Excellent. Because I think a lot more diversity and like more ideas come out when you're in person rather than over Zoom.
I agree.
No,
Yep.
no arguments.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? If not, I will thank you again for your interest, and we're pretty close to being able to deliberate.
Thank you so much for having me. Have an excellent evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Emily and Christian and Nerea and Anna. I think y'all are in for a treat. I think I figured this out. So hang on.
All right.
Hang on one sec. Do y'all see a video screen?
We
Yes.
do.
All right, I'm gonna press play. And if y'all can't hear anything or if anything's off, please just let me know.
Okay. Oh,
No sound.
not hearing audio.
You're not hearing audio?
Nope. Make sure you're, see the little speaker off to the left?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's up to 100, shoot.
yeah. And y'all don't hear anything? It's just kind of muffled or something?
No, nothing.
I wasn't even hearing anything that we could turn up.
Did you hear something?
No. Oh, yeah, Preston, do you hear it when you play it?
Yeah, I hear it when I play it, which is interesting that you all can't, but
So it's coming out your speakers. Problem with Windows is that you have to like direct which way for the audio to go. And you may have to tell it to, you may have to switch to settings and tell the audio to go to Zoom.
The problem
Okay.
with Windows coming from the Mac doctor.
give me,
That's true. I know a little bit about Windows
yeah,
too.
so John, you were suggesting go into the computer audio settings, change the setting so that it, okay.
So that all computer audio is.
Google says when you pick the window you want to share, there's a little box at the bottom that says share computer sound.
Oh, let's check that out.
Yeah, look into that too.
Problem solver.
I'm also here on a Mac, so very helpful.
You're good at Googling fast.
I'm a teacher. Kids ask me questions and I hear it coming and I'm like, let's get a window open.
What did we do without Google?
I have to say, I don't know, because we were actually just discussing today that I was like a fourth grader when search engines started to be a thing. Like, it's very real to me. But we did have to discuss how Google didn't exist when I was like their age.
Oh, you're making me feel really old.
Yeah, I don't know if they didn't exist when I was there.
What was the original search engine? It was Netscape or something like that?
Netscape was the first browser.
Browser, yeah.
I forget what the search engine was called.
Yeah.
JFBI.
Those were when you had dial-up.
But
Oh,
there was
yeah,
like a period where you picked, like there were different search engines and you were like, well, I use Alta Vista. I use blah, blah, blah.
Well, and there still are. There's Google and Bing and
Yeah.
Failed.
But they weren't verbs.
right. Very true. I think Alta Vista was the one I was trying to think of.
So just an update, the computer is frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm trying to close the application and restart, not restart the computer, but get it going again. So sorry, hang on one sec.
Clearly.
All right.
DOS. Who remembers DOS?
Sprocket, you have to go outside. You're too loud. Come on.
Maybe we should take this opportunity for like a 3-minute bathroom break. Is everybody good?
Perfect.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Do that. We'll be right back, everybody. Thanks for your patience.
Windows.
Having any luck, Preston?
You know, I got to a point that Beth was talking about where it allows you to share your computer sound, but I think what I need to do is restart the computer because when I hit the share screen button, it doesn't even allow me to share. There's no little icons for me to share. just blank.
Can you just, how long does it take to upload it to Dropbox? Can one of us share it?
Yeah, that was my next thought. I'm trying to actually maybe pull it up on this iPad, share my screen, and play it for you all.
That ought to work.
Hey, Tessa. No open bar this year?
Somebody needs to unmute Tessa. Jerry might not be back yet.
Oh.
There we go. You're unmuted.
Hi. Yeah, so my sense is I'm not sure what the relationship with the Sherbino is. I think there's a lot that's up in the air for them right now, but my sense is that if it were to exist, it would be, like a kind of an independent, all on Zoom kind of situation. So, we're kind of in discussion around that actually, right as we speak.
Just curious.
Yeah, I
We
really
had a lull.
totally. I hope it can continue, especially in terms of the open mic kind of aspect of it. It's super important for writers to have a place to share work and get feedback.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that it's just, like so many other things, it'll end up being a 1-year hiatus and come back the following year.
Totally possible.
Yeah.
Preston's being really innovative.
Called being resilient.
Yes, you could hold it even closer probably.
Let's try that.
There's no glare, but that's okay. We'll just.
Will that work?
Yeah, that'll
It'll
work.
work.
Make sure this is all the way up.
Whoop.
Shoot.
Hi everyone, my name's Emma Berwanger. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it to the meeting today to talk about the Youth Advisory Council, but thank you for giving me the opportunity and an alternative to kind of let you guys get to know me. So I am a senior at the high school. I've been doing dance since I was in 3rd grade with Weehawken and Creative Arts. I'm on the volleyball team. I work at the Bonton, and I'm also a certified lifeguard. Last summer, I'm a Pinhead intern, and so I got to go to Texas, and I shadowed somebody that owns a medical device company, and he actually was a super big part of their school board. And so when I was down there for 3 weeks, I went to a few of the meetings, and in Texas they were having some issues with their counties and school boards kind of not being lined up. And so I got to listen to all those issues and see how these leaders are resolving it. So the first question that was asked was what inspired me to apply to join the Youth Advisory Council. I actually am kind of new to Ridgway. I've been here for 3 years. And so in Denver, it's not, I lived in Denver before. It was never really an opportunity for the students to have their voices heard in matters that were so close to home, such as the school board. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for the students, and even if I'm not chosen, just the students in general to get their opinions heard on something that affects our lives so much because we're full-time students. So that really inspired me just because I thought it was such a good opportunity. And I also love to meet new people in the community, to make those connections, just because I really do love Ridgway. And I think it's really important that we make this not just the community a really good place, but our schools, because it all kind of starts at the schools. And then what skills do I bring to the table that could help me in this kind of role? I naturally normally assume a leadership role in whatever situation it may be, whether it be, during a volleyball workout or a drill, during dance rehearsals, or even at school during a school project. I'm just a very outspoken person, and I really like to have a plan and to have my opinions heard. So I think it could be a really good opportunity for me too to learn from everyone else, because being so opinionated, it also comes with the toll that if my opinion isn't heard, it kind of hurts my feelings. So I think that it could be a really good opportunity for me to learn, and then also for me to be a spokesperson for a lot of students, just because I'm friends with a lot of people at Ridgway. And so I think it's really important that to see it from different perspectives too, because I have a middle school sister and I also have another sister in high school. So I think I bring a good kind of mix to the table of not just issues that would be important to seniors and juniors, but issues from the middle school area and even the elementary school. I know a lot of elementary schools because I was a student teacher for Weehawken too. So I think that I bring a lot of different viewpoints in, and that's probably about it. Thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope you guys have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Preston. Way to persevere.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Let's bring it back up here to council. And go ahead and deliberate. Anybody want to comment? I'm impressed with all the candidates. It's, as we keep saying, it's just really cool that we're finally getting this off the ground.
I think this is great. I think this is a really great, and we've got 5 excellent candidates here. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I don't see any reason that these 5 shouldn't be our 5 as was stated in the resolution.
I agree. Yep.
I don't have any issues with that. I have one quick question though. It says that the terms would expire on October 1st. Several of these folks are seniors who will probably be gone by then. Is that, how do we deal with that?
I would say, like any board, if people have moved on before the end of their official term, it just means there's an opening for a new appointment.
Okay.
But I'm open to.
But I think maybe that is, Russ does raise an interesting point. I would say that's not that big a deal because I think kind of the new school year, letting it get started now is a great time for us to be holding these interviews. And if that means we have those seniors for a little bit shorter time, then so be it. Because I would hate to have terms expire in the summer and then trying to get people to refill things, just kind of knowing what I know about school schedules.
Sure, and you probably have to wait until the start of the next school year to figure out who your next one's going to be, but still, I'm just curious how we dealt with the October one. That's all.
So what are the logistics? This particular council meets on a separate evening from our meeting, and then, you know, the idea that they're advising means that they're going to be submitting issues to us, or are we involved as council in their meetings? What is it? This doesn't all just fall on Preston, I assume.
Well, yeah, thanks, Terry. That's a really good question. So in the authority and procedures that you all approved by way of that resolution, their meetings will be held monthly here at Town Hall or Zoom for the time being based on the pandemic. And yeah, we'll have to find, I shouldn't say have to find, there'll be plenty of material for them to, or items for them to review or, you know, consider, discuss, deliberate on, some of them requiring, or some of those items end up being forwarded to the town council, and with the explanation that the Ridgway Youth Advisory Council has recommended that this happen, similar to the Planning Commission, simply advisory. And, you know, it's in the name of the committee really, but it's simply an advisory committee. So, and then to your other part of the question about who staffs it, it's in the authority and procedures that myself as the town manager would staff it and kind of spearhead it from the town level. And if there's any interest from council in participating on a regular or semi-regular process, that's something we could certainly explore.
Now, do they sit in on our town council meetings by default, or is that something that's just in addition to their own meetings?
Well, it says under meetings in attachment A that they shall attend regular meetings. They may be required to attend other meetings during their terms, including Ridgway Town Council meetings or presentations to local groups or organizations. I think that kind of leaves it open to to them and Preston and any of us who choose to be involved to figure that out. I would hope that maybe some of them might be interested enough to sit in on the council meetings as well once a month, but it's not required. I for one, am going to want to attend their meetings at least initially and see how it's going and try and support them as much as I can. But I'm also open to suggestions from you all if you have thoughts about ways we might need to tweak this or not.
I think think if they make a recommendation about something that we're considering, having them send a representative who can come, you know, and because sometimes it's one thing to have a recommendation that says, Ridgway Youth Advisory Council recommends you approve this, but just to get a little bit of insight into what was discussed, how they came to that conclusion, like a few sentence statement, because if, you know, and they can rotate that and they can kind of decide what that looks like. And, you know, just like all of us do on this council, our kids in our communities wear a lot of hats. And so you're going to have somewhere there's a basketball game on a Wednesday night, or there's a soccer game. And so it may make sense for them to rotate those duties, or they may want a spokesperson. You know, it kind of depends. Similar to the way that
throw out a suggestion.
the mayor will speak about planning commission a little bit to us and give us some insight sometimes.
I'm going to throw out a suggestion, which may fall like a brick, but we have public comments, public requests and presentations, public hearings, policy matters. I wonder if we should have an agenda item on our meeting that is just a brief report or a section where the youth committee, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, they present the findings of their last meeting or whatever issues they have, even if there's none, but have a slot for them.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Terry.
And then, yeah, that may fit. And we could maybe slot that early. I don't know if it's actually like a public request or presentation, but rather than slotting it with all of our committee reports that take us until who knows what hour, if we could kind of slot it in there. So
earlier parts of the meeting,
yeah.
I think we can leave it to both staff and the Youth Advisory Council after their first meeting or two to come up with a thought about that. And about the bigger picture stuff, I guess what I'd really like to see is for these kids to, these folks to, as they meet the first few times, decide how they want to work and whether they want to establish a formal rotating responsibility for one of them to report to us, or whether they want to keep it more informal. I think we want to give them as much leeway as possible to create a system that works for them. And it'll probably evolve a little bit. And also evolve with each year when the committee makeup changes. So.
Yeah, I think if we want them to believe that we're taking their opinion seriously, which I think is the intent of this body, we're going to have to give them as much autonomy as we can, with also the mentorship component, which it sounds like Preston's excited to do and John's excited to step in. And so give them the tools they need to succeed, but also give them as much autonomy as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a request for a calendar invite to the meetings, as opposed to, I assume it's not just going to, or will it be on a fixed day of the week, or day of the month, etc.?
Again, I think Preston will probably need to meet with the team at least once initially, just to see find out what day of the month works for all of them. But I think it's a good point to say that, of course, there's meeting notice requirements, but it wouldn't be a problem for Pam to notice their meetings, that in case 3 or more of us want to attend. I don't see that as an issue, but we'll let Preston and Pam figure that out. But I think getting notification of calendar invite, like you say, is probably a good idea.
Yep, we can certainly do that. And yeah, it's no problem to publicly notice those meetings if, some or all of you want to attend those meetings. And yeah, we'll, in the coming days, I'll work with the potential appointees to get a meeting date set, and highlighting that agenda will be appointment of officers, trying to find a recurring meeting date, stuff like that.
Does that bring up an issue if more than 2 of us are meeting with them?
Well, that's what we just said. We would publicly notice the meeting, and that would. Terry, do you have something over your microphone by chance? Your audio is muffled.
No, I think I just have a crappy microphone.
Okay, well, we can hear you, but it's a little echoey in that room.
It's a Microsoft project or product.
Oh, well, that explains everything. All right, well, I think we're ready for a motion.
I move to appoint Anna Bartashi, Emma Burwanger, Christian Lindler, screw this one up, Nerea McNitt, and Emily Taylor to the Youth Advisory Council with terms expiring on October 1, 2021.
I'll second that.
Hallelujah. This is a momentous occasion. I just want to recognize again what a big deal this is and how long I've wanted to see it happen. So thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Counselors Cheek,
She's muted, but she said aye.
Grambly,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
He stepped away. Eric, can you hear us? Well, passes 5-0 with one abstention, I guess I'd say. Or Preston, do you think we need to wait until Eric gets back?
I don't see a need to wait, but with him not voting, yeah, I think the record should reflect that he didn't vote on this item.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations to you five, Anna, Emma, Christian, Nerea, and Emily. Welcome aboard to the inaugural Ridgway Youth Advisory Council. We're so excited to see what you guys do this year and to have your help and guidance and involvement in all things town of Ridgway government. Eric, you have a quick opportunity to vote on the motion to appoint all five of these great young people to the advisory council.
Aye.
Okay, so we have a unanimous vote. Thank you. And thanks again to all you great youth involved in this. And thank you, Preston, for spearheading this. That takes us to item number 10, review of 90-day trial run of 10 p.m. bar closure at the patio at Steps Tavern. Preston, you're going to lead this off?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So just real quick, back in July, I think it was, you all approved the condition on the liquor license at Steps Patio for music to stop at 9 p.m. and for the bar to close at 10 p.m. For a 90-day period, I believe it was, or up until this evening, the October 14th council meeting. So the trial period is now ended. So you all need to, if you would, please rediscuss and provide direction on how to move forward with the music and bar closure condition. I did reach out to Mr. Dan Easton several days ago. I thought he was going to plan to attend, but I have not seen him enter the forum here. But he was notified that this was taking place, the 90-day review.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see him on there now. Does staff have any background on neighborhood complaints or comments, or how does staff feel like the last 90 days have gone?
So I have not received any feedback from anybody. I'll turn it over to Pam. She may have, and then Shane is on the phone too. It may be interesting to hear from the law enforcement perspective.
I can just speak to, there was one particular night where there was music that was loud and we got 2 calls about that. But other than that, we haven't received any calls here at Town Hall that I'm aware of, but the Marshal's Department may have received calls.
Okay.
Looks like Shane is on. Can he maybe weigh in on that? Oh, you're on it, Preston. Sorry.
Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, we haven't received any complaints regarding either the music or the bar being open during this period of time. And Dan has, the guys have been stopping in there and talking with him, and he's been really amicable to deal with during this time.
Great. That's good to hear. Thanks for
That's
that.
great.
So what do you guys think?
I think we should extend.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So wait, are we extending this, just to be clear, are we extending this because of COVID the stuff, or are we just saying that steps can now be open until 10? Or the patio can be open until 10?
Yeah, I don't think it, this is Preston. I don't know that it's COVID related, but yeah, I guess what's before you is there any desire to just extend with the life of the, or I guess till the next renewal date for that liquor license, this condition that the music can go until 9 and then the bar can remain open till 10? Does that answer your question?
Well, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page about whatever we're approving.
Right.
Because somebody said extend, and then I just wanted to be clear that.
Just extend the ability to be open till 10 and the music still stopping at 9 with that agreement that we set up previously.
And my understanding was that this would be until the next renewal date on
Correct.
this in general.
Correct.
And there's, we need a motion for that, right, Preston?
Yes, sir, please.
I move to extend the condition of the liquor license for music for the Steps patio for music to stop at 9 and the bar to close at 10 until next liquor license renewal. That's all right.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded by Eric. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselors Cheek,
Aye.
Grambly,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Great, thanks, everybody. That takes us to item number 11, review, discussion, and direction on request to utilize town property in Ridgway Athletic Park for a bike park.
So, Mayor, I'll go ahead and take this one. Chase isn't able to make it this evening. So I don't have too much to add outside of what's in the memo before you that Chase prepared. We do have Matt McIsaac here to briefly talk about what it is he's proposing for that portion of land by the athletic park. I'm happy to answer any questions from staff's perspective, but for now, I'll go ahead and unmute Matt.
Hello.
Hello, Matt. Welcome.
I'll try video, but we'll see what Zoom does. Oh, it says no.
That's fine. I mean, we'd love to see your smiling face, but audio works too.
There we go. So I think from what you guys have seen, besides what you've probably seen around town with our petitions and the little bit of info that we kind of have unveiled on this, this is a project that me and Trisha, I think she's on here too, Trisha Oakland, talked about probably over a year ago at a premiere of a mountain bike film that we did at the Sherb. And it's kind of been in the works for that period of time. I'm good friends with the people that we're kind of working with to contract this project. And we would have loved to debut this more publicly in a forum like the Sherb or somewhere where people could gather, but right when we were ready to unveil it, COVID hit, and my feeling was it was still a good time to come forward with it and get it rolling. I've been in cycling, I've been racing bikes since I was 5 years old, been coaching for 25 years, and most of you probably here know me from my building and development projects, but this is something that hits home really hard with me with kids and having a place for them to go. I'm also a skateboarder, so I'm at the skate park too, and kind of seeing how crowded that's getting. And more so at the beginning of this COVID thing, it was an eye opener that we don't have a ton of stuff for these kids to do, and the skate park is just packed. And we're a bit of a cycling community, so I think it would fit right in. And I think you guys have some aerial shots. It's obvious where it's at. It's where the other attempts have been. That just kind of came naturally. And the biggest difference with what we're trying to have done here is it is asphalt. So the entire pump track is paved. This not only deletes long-term maintenance and daily maintenance, but it gives you something that all users can use. You can have a kid on a strider, you can have a skateboarder, you can have a scooter, you can have, I've seen beach cruisers, grandparents rolling through the mild sections of these things and laughing and smiling. And it gives a platform that everyone from beginner to AA pro can have fun on. We've kind of got it in 3 segments. The paved pump track is the focus, and that's what you see in the front, which would kind of be where the old pump track attempt was. We have a smaller pump track behind that. That would be, the focus of that is to keep the small kids on something where the speed wouldn't be as high. And then we have a skills area behind that. So skills area is kind of a training area for mountain biking. It builds you up to deal with the obstacles that you're going to find on trails in a much more controlled environment in a way that you can repeat it. So a great platform to take these kids from pump tracking, which speaks to mountain biking 100% on trail. People don't realize that, but it does. And then take them to obstacles and say, okay, now this is what you'll see out on the trails. Let's practice this over and over in a safe environment that's controlled, and not say, okay, I want you to go through this turn. There's a rock garden on the other side and a tree over here and this and that. So I've seen these setups nationwide, worldwide, and the response is awesome. I mean, communities instantly want to build more of them. Grand Junction recently now has 2 paved pump tracks. They had one at the college for their cycling team, but it ended up getting so busy that they applied for grants to get another one built. And then they also just had the same company build a whole nother bike park on Riverside Parkway that you can see from Riverside. So they saw the community response of one pump track and they immediately ran with it. But let's see, I would try to share screen, but I don't want to crash. Just to give you guys, and I know you have a huge agenda, so I don't want to get too deep into this either if we don't need to.
Well,
But
we
I
can
wanted to
see
show you,
Matt, you can share your screen.
let me try to see if this works. Because I totally understand that hearing pump track and knowing that we've tried this is kind of a bit of a conflicting thing. So let me see.
And Preston, Trish is here. She's the Sherbino account.
Schirberhaken we haben.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Trish.
Yeah, I'm.
Is that working?
Yep.
Yep.
Or
So you can see Velo Solutions on a YouTube screen.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'll just play this. It'll be like 45 seconds, but it'll give you a much better idea of. So yeah, that hopefully kind of gives you an idea of the difference of paved versus what you've seen in dirt pump tracks. And it's a really similar principle, but it stays the same. We kind of get that outcome that we want every day, that we need to water and pack and rake, and all the things that go into the old school dirt pump tracks, just they go away. So that's kind of the reason I would prefer to go with a contractor that does this day in, day out, and you get the results that pay off long term. And you don't get a build crew. We might have, and we might have 2-3 seniors right now, juniors and seniors, that would really work on dirt jumps and a pump track. But next year we might not have those kids here to help with that stuff. And the paved pump track builds that family of understanding that we do need to maintain stuff, but we don't have the workforce here to have a dirt or even any sort of high maintenance pump track or bike park. So that's why we kind of went straight to that.
Makes sense.
And I know one note that Chase had made in his thing was just wanting us to be able to address future maintenance, of like 10, 15 years down the road. Because obviously, anything requires some maintenance, while this obviously requires a lot less regularly. But honestly, we're already working on some grant writing. And our hope is that if you guys grant this land approval, that the town would be willing to allow us to apply for some GOCO funding. There's a couple grants in specific that deal with, smaller rural funds. There's also some health department funding. But the hope would be that we would actually be able to fundraise enough to kind of throughout the year through grants, keep a little reserve for maintenance. And whether that's paid out to a maintenance company, or whether down the road we find that it can be done little by little, maybe hiring local high school kids to do some stuff. It just depends on what it would be. But the hope would be that we would just continue to kind of work on grants and fundraising, that it wouldn't just be done. We would continue to make that effort to get some reserves there for that.
That's good to hear, because I definitely was going to ask about, asphalt is great for not requiring daily or weekly or monthly maintenance, but it is going to require some maintenance long term.
Yeah,
it's going to crumble at the edges and things like that. So I'm glad to hear that you're planning on that. Another question I had, just knowing a little bit about that piece of ground, is that there's definitely some kind of wetlands type area farther south, beyond the existing dirt pump track. And is that going to be an issue?
So what we're going to do is, if we get approval, Velo Solutions will actually come out and do a full topo. We'll do a full legit survey of the property and get the wetlands marked out. And there is a natural drainage ditch coming down through now. Mm-hmm. And so the goal is to keep the pump track on the north side, and then we would incorporate some sort of bridge over a bike path to the other side, but definitely, very aware that some of that is wetlands, and we need to have that engineered in there, and not build anything that would potentially get washed out, and we can accommodate any water flow that would come from above in those natural ditches.
Yeah, but I think it's important to remember that, we've gone through several years of relatively dry weather, and obviously we're in a drought this year. But in fairly normal rainy years, that area can get pretty soggy. And I think, you need to really look at that in terms of sort of future stuff. That can get almost to the point where you're walking through there and just squishing.
Yeah.
You're going along. So it may require some buildup of, particularly for the paved area, may require some buildup to get it up and out of that zone a little bit.
Yeah, that's one benefit of the paved, is once we can do that work and get it in there, hopefully, a dirt pump track would really get washed out and take a lot of a lot of work and maintenance in a wet year when it gets really beaten down. Hopefully, if we can do it right the first time, and I think, we have the company that's got the experience to do that. I think we can get it engineered right the first time so that we can avoid that.
But so what do you thinking going to be the total cost on this? Do you have any ideas at this point?
All three phases are 300,000, 297.
This might be a dumb question, but is WeRat, is there an organization specifically for Ridgway Bike Park? Like, who is we?
Yep. So honestly, currently it's basically behind it. It's me and Matt. We are fundraising under COPMOBA, which is the Colorado Mountain Bike Plateau. We are actually not fundraising under the RAT umbrella because they want to stay focused on their single track planning. And so we are actually just working directly with COPMOBA as basically they're considered like our fiscal agent, but we don't actually at this point have any solidified organization. Realistically, depending on how things go with fundraising and grants, we might move forward with creating a nonprofit that would just be the Ridgway Bike Park. That would basically be, a small board of people that would be responsible for committing to writing grants and managing any, future maintenance. But at this point, because it's really basically our expenses are the estimate, the construction and engineering estimate from American Ram Company, there really are no other expenses. There's no staff, there's no operational costs. So it's basically just me and Matt and yeah.
Contractor.
No, I just ask because, as we start talking about looking towards future maintenance, not having specific people, if, that's where having some sort of touch point organizationally is important.
I think to chime in on that, I think as we move forward with this, I think we will develop a board. And obviously if we plan to have some sort of fund to keep a nice maintenance pillow in there, we'll just have to start our own MPO, but COPMOBA jumped on really fast to help us get it going. And we did sit in with the RAT and we didn't have anyone say no. So the RAT is completely on board, but right now they want to focus on their grant that they're sitting on and the single track development, which is totally understandable. And I think we'd back each other either way if needed, but it's just it seems better to do it kind of separate for now.
This probably applies to the skate park and for that matter, the tennis courts or even the rat trails. But what is the liability for the town? I mean, I looked at that video and I can picture leaving a fair amount of skin on that video.
Yeah, it's the same as a skate park. You essentially, we post the rules and regulations just as when you walk past that sign at the skate park and you unknowingly sign your life away.
Guess I've never seen the sign, so that answers.
Yeah, it's right if you walk in from the tennis court side.
So, Trish, you had mentioned GOCO grants, and you probably know this, but just so it's out in front, is that, in order to apply for the GOCO grant, the town would have to be the agent.
We've actually, Chase, we've talked a little bit with that, of his, basically that it would have to go through the town. We'd be happy to do any aspect of it that's needed, the writing, the gathering of any information. But of course, the town would actually have to be the ones to submit.
I think that's in the agenda. The two basic things three basic things we're asking you guys for and from the town is there's a water tap right at the back of that backstop. So a spigot for water, use of the land, and undersign any grants that may need the town approval. And those are kind of the three items that we are asking of the town. We're not going to ask anything else as far as financials or anything like that at this time.
Yeah, so real quick, thanks for summarizing, Matt. That I was about to do that. So yeah, the three things that are being asked to council: approval of the land. If council elected to move forward with that, we would enter into a lease agreement with Matt or whatever the entity is. And I'd like Bo to chime in here, but in that lease or in some way, you all would be assuming all liability in that regard. The second thing is use of a water source for maintenance, and then, like you just talked to, potential for the town to serve as a fiscal sponsor for a GOCO grant application, or maybe another grant opportunity that comes up. Is that right?
Yep.
Correct.
So quickly, this is Bo. On the lease, we can certainly have an indemnity provision wherein the liability rests with the eventually created entity. And then to, I think it was Russ's question earlier about the town's liability that would be coupled with the creation of the pump track. There is protection for recreational activities under Colorado law, such as ski areas, bike trails, things of that nature. And so that's where the town's protections with this would follow. But I think it's a really good question, and it's a point both that we needed to pay attention both to with the potential construction of the pump track and then the use, hopefully when it's in place.
So I see Joanne is on, and I don't want to harp on this issue of the water out there, but I'm wondering if she could weigh in on that a little bit, just because she's studied it and has a lot more details about it than I do.
I just unmuted her, but I'm not sure if,
Okay, all right.
if she, oh, you're there.
I was, now it says I am. Good to talk.
We can hear you. Thanks, Joanne.
All right, thank you. I would be concerned, I mean, asphalt's a flexible pavement. And if the material under the asphalt flexes, the asphalt tends to crack and break or settle, and so with the change in moisture, you're likely to have some shift in how much support the underlying material provides. I think you would want to do something that right in the area under the asphalt to keep the soils from becoming saturated and flexing.
Yeah, they're generally dug with a 24-inch overX, road base, dirt, compacted again, and then we compact the actual track 3 times. So I mean, I've seen semis drive on these things. They're bomb-proof. So I mean, and we can go into deep into Velo Solutions background on how many of these things have been built, but I can assure you that we are not going to just pour asphalt over some dirt hills. This is
No, I know. I know that. I just really want to make, I think this project's a great idea. And I would hate to see 5 years down the road, if we get 4 or 5 wet seasons in a row, hopefully, that we start to see some issues with that asphalt flexing and bending.
And I'll bring that up to Drew and Eric over at Velo, because they've built in quite a few wet areas as far as Scotland and even here in the States, and in some much more wet areas, Bellingham, Washington, places like that. So I'll bring that to the table, that yes, we are currently extremely dry, but we have all the capabilities of being as wet as those places. So we got to keep that in mind in construction.
Yeah.
But the water tap, just to clarify.
That you might ask them to address is that asphalt kind of needs to be kneaded to stay together. And in a hot, dry climate, how is the asphalt going to stay kind of work together? Something that's different from the soils here versus like in Washington State is some of the swell and shrink potential as the soil gets wet and dry, depending on how much non-expansive material you put on top before you put the asphalt down. So those would all be questions.
Yeah, I'll bring all that up, definitely.
Tricia,
What's up?
This is Terry. Just a reminder, we've talked about it before, but November 11th is the application date for the sharing success grants at SMPA.
Yep. Yep, I've got that on my radar. We're some pending, your decision tonight, our approval. We're gonna finish submitting our Telluride Foundation grant because that's due on Monday. And then we've already also submitted to the Uray County Community Foundation, and I've talked with Doug Price a little bit about the project as well. So I think, with that and also applying for the San Miguel Power, I think we're hopefully in a decent position to see some regional funding from grants.
So outside of actual construction concerns, which feels like a conversation better had with contractors involved, does anybody else have any other thoughts on granting the lease or the water or being a partner? Because the list of letters that was included in our packet in support of this was pretty extensive and impressive from a cool cross section of our community.
Would the town be supplying the water or just supplying access to the water?
I think it's
I
raw.
believe the request is to utilize the town's water, at no cost to the entity.
And it's honestly, it's pretty minimal because I know water is and probably will continue to be a big concern. We're planning on really minimal landscaping, xeriscaping in areas that, and then of course the pavement itself really doesn't have any. So that's another plus of going with the paved versus a dirt track is, there's a lot less water that's going to need to be utilized. I think Matt can probably speak a little bit to what we might need water for.
It was more so during construction when we're compacting and not trying to bring in water trucks back and forth down County Road there. It will be used. It would be used for landscaping and backpacking, and if we do have more dry stuff, dust down. But I wouldn't see it being utilized nearly as
So we probably wouldn't
much
put
as
meter there.
a soccer field or a baseball diamond or something like that.
Probably wouldn't be metered. You're also going to need water to wash all my skin off the
Well, and Preston, that's a raw water tap, I imagine.
I don't know the answer to that. Joanne, do you know?
Chase, I think, said it is.
Yeah, that would make
Chase
sense.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
So that would need to be clearly marked so somebody doesn't get thirsty while they're biking.
Yep, absolutely.
I think we're close enough to the bathrooms, the bathrooms would be about the halfway point between the skate park and the bike parks. The kids all understand that that's where you get your water, that if we had a non-potable red tag on there, that it would be pretty understood that and we could even put a padlock on it.
Yeah.
When we're not, we're not.
I think by law, we're required to have a padlock on
Okay.
anything that's not potable.
That makes sense.
The only other question I have is the skills track, what you're calling a skills track. Is that a combination of dirt and ramps?
Yeah, it's basically a flat dirt trail, but all the features are sustainable features that don't require maintenance. So steel and the way they've been built lately and kind of what they're doing in junction with the harsh sun, knowing that the wood planks will eventually dry out because they're built with a steel track. And so those planks are very easily pulled out when they're ready to be replaced, and they're put in with no hardware. So you don't have like this screwed together item that we know will fail in Colorado sun and rain. So pretty cool progressive designs on these features that are really lasting and holding up.
Well, I'm excited about this. I think it's something that's worth exploring. My initial concern was just how much of that vacant land you guys were looking at using, and seeing that there's the dividing line basically even with the edge of the soccer fields. That eases my concerns there. I think your biggest obstacles are going to be dealing with the expansive soils. But again, you guys are working with a professional outfit that's done this in a lot of different places, and they'll either be able to figure out how to do it or they won't, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those opportunities where we have a public nonprofit partnership and an opportunity to bring something to Ridgway, where I think the asks being made of us right now are pretty minimal. I think this is a body who's not going to be able to, we don't have it on our radar to contribute a giant chunk of change to, construction costs, but it sounds like you guys are being really proactive in getting grants and chasing that funding. So, as far as I'm concerned, it sounds like us being a partner is exactly what we always talk about in terms of what we want to do in town.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, this sounds like a great idea, and I'm supportive of moving forward with it.
I just want to say, I really appreciate your guys' support. I think probably all of you know me, and probably most of you probably know Matt. We're definitely dedicated to making this project work. I'm a homeowner and longtime resident, and Matt's a homeowner here too. We're here and in it, and pretty happy to build up a committee or nonprofit to make this a lasting, sustainable thing for our community.
I think it's going to be a beautiful asset, and it's totally Ridgway and really good for.
Somebody make a motion.
Well, I'll move that the town council approves the 3 requests. Number 1, to approval to utilize the land described to build a public bike park. Number 2, use of the water source for maintenance. And number 3, ability to list the town of Ridgway as a project partner if requested or required for grant applications.
And real quick, would you be amenable to, and maybe both might need to chime in, would you be amenable to amending the motion to authorizing staff to enter into a lease agreement with the entity, the eventual entity? Does that make sense?
Number 4.
Yeah, I think that's great. Obviously, the lease itself will come before the council once it's in place, but giving the direction for staff to put that together is another sign of support.
Okay, I think I heard that part of Terry's motion. So we're looking for a second.
Second.
All right, Russ is the second. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilors Cheek,
Aye.
Brambley,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
All right, there you go.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We're excited to see it progress.
Thank you.
All right. That takes us to review and submittal of the EIAF Tier 1 grant application to DOLA during cycle 21-01 to support the Ridgway Granular Activated Carbon Water Treatment Upgrade Project. It's a mouthful. Preston?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Actually, I'd like to request, I'd like to see if you all be amenable to just to moving to item number 19. That's the ordinance amending. Well, you can read it yourselves. That way Shay can move on with the rest of her night and not sit through the other items.
I'm totally fine with that. Let's see. So item number 19, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Item number 19 is introduction of ordinance amending section 7-1 of the Ridgway Municipal Code regarding planning commission term expirations. Something Shay and I have been talking about with Doug Canwright for a number of weeks and a couple of months now.
Yeah, so thanks everyone, appreciate it. Although I do like spending my nights with you, don't get me wrong. I think this is pretty straightforward. Last planning commission meeting, the planning commission actually adopted some bylaws, which we haven't had before. So a little bit of formality there, kind of documenting what we traditionally practice. And as part of that, we're kind of working on formalizing and tracking the terms a bit better than we have been. And our code, our municipal code currently says that the commissioners shall serve terms that are 6 years and they expire at 2-year intervals. And as we talked through it, it was decided that the mayor and Chairperson Canwright discussed that, boy, if we have 2 people expire at the same time and we get a new council representative and a new mayor, we could have a 4-person turnover in the planning commission in about 6 months. Pretty unlikely to happen, that many people, but it was something that could be a really big bummer, especially in this time of a lot of development, review, and detailed projects going on, where there's a lot to learn, a lot to know and keep track of, and it is just kind of a technical thing being in this, kind of planning, land use expert role. So the idea here was to just amend the code, the municipal code, to allow for terms to expire at 1-year intervals. So the table included in your staff report kind of explains how we would stagger those terms. They would all be set in November, and then we would have a bit of a more organized way to do this without, or trying to prevent as much turnover at one time as possible. So that's all. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Shay?
That makes sense to me.
It's definitely better than the 2-year intervals.
Seeing no discussion, I move to introduce ordinance 06-2020 regarding planning commission term expirations.
Second.
I think I heard Eric second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Who seconded? I didn't hear that.
Eric did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilors Cheek. Aye. Grambly.
Aye.
Lakin.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Schuyler.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, Shay.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Sign off and go watch Schitt's Creek or something.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, so we'll backtrack to item number 12, review and approval of submittal of EIAF Tier 1 grant application for DOLA during cycle 21-01 to support the Ridgway granular activated carbon water treatment upgrade project. Preston.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. And I'll try to give a brief summary. And with Chase not being here, I may lean on Joanne to help fill in any gaps or help answer questions, because she's, my understanding is she was involved a little bit in this granular activated carbon testing process. But what's before you tonight is approval of the grant application that staff recently submitted to DOLA for the granular activated carbon, acronym GAC, water treatment upgrade project. The application requires formal council approval, and since we weren't able to get formal council approval by the submittal deadline, which was October 1st, that's why we're here tonight. And DOLA allowed the town the ability to submit or to supplement the application with a letter from Mayor Clark, giving staff the authority to submit the application, et cetera. So, before you is just for you all to review and approve the application, and then I can contact our DOLA regional manager, Patrick Rondinelli, first thing tomorrow morning to let him know that we have received full council approval. But just in summary with the project, it kind of developed fairly quickly, and Joanne might be able to talk to that a little bit, but staff undertook a pilot testing process to explore the benefits of transitioning from a chlorine dioxide treatment to this granular activated carbon treatment at the town's water treatment plant. Like I said, the initiative really evolved quickly over the last, I don't know, month or 60 days or so. And the preliminary testing results suggest that GAC will improve the finished water quality compared to chlorine dioxide, the application of chlorine dioxide. And so staff will be recommending to the town council during this 2021 fiscal year budget preparation process that the town proceed in 2021 with replacing the chlorine dioxide treatment step with this GAC filtration alternative. And there's some, the memo I think goes into some information about how the tier 1 grants are structured. They're for projects up to $200,000. They're a 50-50 match. My understanding is the cost of this project is in the ballpark of $200,000 total. If successful for this grant cycle, the town would just be paying out of pocket 50% of the total project cost. And installing GAC would lower the long-term costs, reduce the degree of increase in future plant classification, lower maintenance and risk, and really cool, it would increase the water quality. Mayor Clark can attest, him and myself went up to the water treatment plant late last week and did a like one of those Pepsi Coke challenge tests. It was really cool. And we had to like choose which of the water, I'm losing my train of thought, but we had to pick which water was the GAC filtration alternative, which one was chlorine dioxide, which one was like not treated with either. It was kind of crazy. So John, you can talk to that, but that's the end of my spiel.
Thanks, Preston. Yeah, I can't tell you how thrilled I am with this. I mean, I have not been a fan of the chlorine dioxide treatment that we've been having to use for quite a while. Personally, I think the tap water that comes out of my tap vacillates between smelling like a swimming pool or smelling very algae infested. TMI, I know, but the difference with the GAC is just so apparent, and I'm just thrilled that we can, well, first off, that staff found this opportunity, and the timing is perfect. The chlorine dioxide equipment is kind of end of life and needing to be replaced. This new process is much less maintenance, I mean, almost no, essentially no harsh chemicals. To me, it's a no-brainer. And it will result in much better tasting tap water, which is the most exciting thing of all. So any other questions, comments?
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, you know, we've talked for a long time needing a separate storage area and ventilation for the water treatment plant because of the chlorine dioxide, and that just eliminates that, which is great. So my only question is, and it's more just clarification, is that I'm assuming the grant match comes from the water enterprise fund, and I'm assuming those funds are there.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Joanne, do you want to add anything? Maybe she stepped away. I tried to unmute her.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
There's a lag on the unmuting. Part of the cost, Eric, would come from the town doing the piping. So there'll be some in kind and some cash.
Okay.
The system looks like it's a whole lot simpler. It requires a lower operator certification level. We're doing some more due diligence on the GAC, but it looks like it pays for itself in less than 5 years, even if we didn't get the grant.
Wow.
Any
Super
other questions?
exciting. I mean, this is another example of staff looking out for the interests of town. I think this is super exciting.
Yeah.
Yep, really proactive. It's awesome.
And it's another example of why we want to make sure we have healthy funds in both our drinking water and our wastewater treatment enterprise funds so that we're able to jump on grant opportunities like this. So that being said, I move to approve submittal of EIAF Tier 1 grant application to DOLA during cycle 2101 to support the Ridgway Granular Activated Carbon Water Treatment Upgrade Project.
Can I ask a couple questions first?
We need to have a second.
Second?
Either motion dies for lack of a second, or did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Terry?
Yep.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Go ahead, Russ.
So it's talking about the energy efficiency of this, and I was curious if this has any roll-on effect with our next agenda item, I believe, on the backup generator. Does it reduce the need for that, or do we still need a backup generator?
I think we still need one, but staff?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, we would still need one. It just goes along the lines of if there's ever a power outage, need that resilient piece of energy to keep that water treatment plant up and running. But great question.
The other question I had was, does this have any expanded capacity beyond what we already have in form of the whatever that other system is called, or is this lean itself towards an expansion of our plant, which I know is something we have on the books for not right away, but in the future? Does it lend itself to that in any way?
Good question. And that might be a question that Chase, well, maybe Joanne can weigh in.
Yeah, and that's definitely something Chase might be able to talk to better than I can. I'll unmute Joanne.
There you go, Joanne.
We're sizing it for this. It comes in tank kind of facilities, and we're sizing the current selection for the number that the full use of the current plant. So the water would still go through the membranes. And so we've sized the number of vessels for the GAC to match what we have for membrane right now. But we're also going to situate everything in the old building with room to both expand another train of membranes and to expand the GAC as we need. So we're going to look at the layout for the building with the idea that we will want to expand both halves or both treatment trains.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other comments, discussion before we vote? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilors Cheek,
Aye.
Gramley,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everybody, and huge thanks to staff for jumping on this in a timely fashion, and way to go. Really cool. That takes us to item number 13, approval of purchase of a backup generator for the water treatment plant. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So the town council earmarked $75,000 in the 2020 fiscal year budget for the purchase of a backup generator. Public Works staff recently started gathering quotes from companies for a commercial backup generator. The lowest quote received is for a diesel powered unit at a cost of $68,400. It's below the budgeted amount, and staff is recommending that the town move forward with this purchase. My understanding is this has been in the hopper for a while. And with this budgeted expenditure exceeding $25,000, it requires council approval by formal action. And it would be paid out of the Water Enterprise Fund.
So I'm all for it. I mean, we need to have a generator up there. So in terms of fuel source, what's the plan for that? I mean, I know you said it's diesel, but you know, what's the plan for tank, et
Secondary,
cetera, et cetera?
diesel typically requires secondary containment.
Say that again, Terry, I'm sorry.
The diesel will typically require secondary containment for leaks of the tank. Is the tank integral to the generator or is it a separate tank?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I can try to pull the quote real quick to figure out if it comes equipped with that secondary tank, if that's how those diesel powered units work, or if it's necessary for those diesel powered units.
Yeah, it's secondary containment, which typically means you have to dig or build a mound around to contain the diesel if it spills. So it may be part of the diesel generator we have across the street has the tank built into the base of the trailer, which holds the generator. And then we had to put a bermed, a structure around that to contain it if it leaks. So there may be additional costs outside of the cost of just the generator.
Yeah, those costs you were talking to with the development of a structure were worked into the quote we received. So that's great background there. But yeah, that has been incorporated. The tank element, I'm still not quite sure on, but I can check on that.
I'm just curious, is because unfortunately we don't have natural gas up there, which would be a much better alternative. But yeah, I mean, Terry's right. You would need some sort of berm around that just to contain it in case of a spill. So anyway, it has nothing to do with going yay or nay on this. Just curiosity.
Another required component is a transfer switch, so you'd have to be sure that it includes that too, because that can get kind of pricey. And transfer switch is what determines when the grid goes out and transfers to the generator and vice versa. When the grid comes back on, it turns the generator off. And also exercises the generator every month. It turns it on to make sure it works. So I'm sure that's probably part of the quote, but I know the transfer switches can be expensive, so you might check to see if that's included.
I'm pretty sure that probably is, but good idea to point it out. Any other comments, questions? We have a motion.
I move to approve the deviation for procurement procedures and authorize staff to purchase a backup generator for the water treatment plant at a cost of $68,400.
Second.
I think I heard Terry first. Good enough, anyway. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilors Cheek,
Aye.
Grambly,
Aye.
Lakin,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. That passes that. Next up is a big one, but it's basically just to meet our statutory requirement to introduce this budget. But item number 14, presentation of the draft 2021 fiscal year budget. Pam?
Yes, the mayor is correct. This is just a submittal pursuant to the Colorado statutes and our town charter. Council needs to be presented with the budget at the first meeting of October. We do have a meeting scheduled this Saturday where we will go extensively into the budget, but this is just so we could meet those requirements. We will have a number of other public hearings and another workshop meeting after the retreat this weekend. So we'll have plenty of time to discuss the budget. But if you have any questions right now, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Pam on the budget as presented?
No, I'll wait till Saturday.
All right.
Well, I move we approve the 2021 draft budget.
Introduce.
Introduce.
I don't think you need to do that. Maybe just acknowledge the receipt.
Okay.
Acknowledge.
Okay.
Let the minutes show that we have completed the middle of the draft fiscal year 2021 budget. Thank you.
Great.
Can we talk about the meeting on Saturday? I don't have it on my computer calendar. It must be on my phone. It's 9 to 2, I recall. Is it a Zoom meeting or is it an in-person meeting?
It is it's proposed as a Zoom meeting, but you're the second member of council to ask me that. Got an email from Kevin last week wondering if we were meeting in person. Is there any appetite for meeting in person, or should we carry on with the Zoom platform?
I was getting at what part of this is a retreat?
I know. Yeah.
Well, last year we all crammed into what is now Preston's office for this event.
But there were a lot of treats at the retreat.
There were.
I just weighing in from a public health standpoint, that's just a lot of time in a room with a bunch of people that probably doesn't make a lot of sense at this juncture in the pandemic.
I was going to say, other than the fact that we're starting at 9 a.m., that we could we could meet in like the pavilion or the gazebo and be outside for it, but it's still pretty chilly at 9 a.m. these days.
I was also going to suggest that we reconvene after lunch outside in the pavilion, and then we could get those last couple hours done maybe outdoors in the warmth of the day, and then we could so that would leave us like 3 hours of Zoom in the morning.
So we can be imprisoned in Zoom and then retreat to the pavilion.
Anyway, that was just a thought. That's kind of what the schools are doing, is trying to, when you can, go.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
What does staff think about that?
Would you, I hate to be rude, would you expect us to provide the lunch?
No, not necessarily.
I mean, we could if you wanted that, but I just need to know to plan it.
I think that's just one more maybe point of contact we don't need to do.
Okay.
So, I think
let's keep it simple. Let's can we say that we'll go from either 9 to 11:30 or 9 to noon, take 15-minute or half an hour break for everybody to grab a bite, and then meet at the pavilion after that?
I think that would work. Just want to note that we've already published the retreat agenda. It should be in Dropbox if y'all wanted to check it out. But I think that would work perfect because there's a break at noon proposed for like lunch, if you will, and then we could certainly congregate at 12:30 or after that.
I like the sound of that. Let's do that. Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Yep, it works.
Yep.
Right.
And real quick, where are we meeting again?
In the gazebo.
Gazebo?
The gazebo or the pavilion? The pavilion's got more space, but.
You mean the picnic pavilion in Hartwell Park?
Yes.
Okay.
The soon to be named Spirac Pavilion.
So, yeah, I guess we'll try to block it off so that no one takes it. We could do that. So would you rather do the picnic pavilion?
Well, it's just got more space. What do you guys think?
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably wise.
I think that's a better location than the gazebo.
Don't forget your masks.
Right.
And your jacket.
High's supposed to be 70 that day, so.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
just shady. It's shady in the picnic.
You're in the
pavilion.
shade.
It is shady, and if it's windy, it'll be cool. Definitely. All right. I like that idea. All right, so we have successfully introduced the draft 2021 budget. That takes us to Item number 15, reintroduction of ordinance adopting a new chapter 14-7 of Title 14 of the Ridgway Municipal Code establishing small cell regulations. I believe Preston has some updates on why this is a reintroduction.
Yes, sir. So yeah, we're holding first reading again because as you all directed, we reached out to Dave Zelenak with HR Green. He came back with some really great comments, best practices, suggested edits, and staff incorporated some of Dave's suggestions, which is summarized in a list in the memo before you. Safety checks require the permittee to conduct annual tests of its small cell facilities and report to the town the results of such tests. I'm just kind of summarizing those substantive edits. Second one, non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation report require the permittee to enlist a third party to conduct a non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation report to ensure compliance with FCC guidelines for human exposure to radio frequency electromagnetic fields. And then the third substantive change, charge an application review fee and charge the safe harbor right-of-way usage rate of $270 for any small cells installed in the town's right-of-way. So those are the substantive changes made, which require us to hold first reading again. And if approved, second reading will be, the public hearing and second reading would be at the November 11th council meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Preston. Anybody have any questions for staff on this? Thank you for taking it to Dave and getting those edits. I think that's well worth it.
No, thank you. I don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with. And it was great to reach out, and he was more than willing to help, and it was great.
Awesome.
Given that, I'll move to reintroduce ordinance adopting a new chapter 14-7 to title 14 of the Ridgway Municipal Code, establishing small cell regulations.
Sweet. Second.
Kevin makes the second. Any other discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Cheek.
Aye.
Grambly.
Aye.
Lakin.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Schuyler.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Great, thanks, everybody. Next up is item number 16, request for approval of contract with Economic and Planning Systems Incorporated for development of an economic resiliency plan.
Yeah, so I think this one's worth giving a pretty good background on, just because a lot's happened over the last few months. But you all are asked to consider approving the agreement with Economic and Planning Systems Incorporated, EPS for short, for the development of an economic resiliency plan. You all kind of talked about it a little bit during the MOU review earlier tonight. The memo does give a pretty thorough background, but again, I think I'd like to just, for members of the audience and anybody else, just kind of give that background here. It was back in May, I would say at the height of COVID, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but kind of still towards the beginning of COVID, and at the direction of the policy group, that an RFP for a contract economic recovery coordinator be developed and issued. It was issued, and in mid-July, I believe it was, 2 proposals were received. The first proposal to complete the scope of work was submitted by a company called Integrated Solutions Consulting. Their estimated cost was exorbitant. And there was a second proposal received from EPS, but it was more of a letter of interest. It was not really a proposal. It didn't specify cost. I think at that time they were just a little unsure about what it is we were asking for, because the RFP was really seeking kind of a contract individual to come in and complete the scope of work, and obviously they're a consulting firm. So in September, the administrators, Connie, Melissa, and myself, met with EPS reps, had a great meeting, very informal type interview, to learn more about the services they provide and just ask them questions. As a result of that, EPS was asked to draft a scope of work and then propose a cost to develop what we're calling now an economic resiliency plan to address long-term economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The scope of work and the proposed costs they submitted to Connie, Melissa, myself, it was presented to the policy group during, I think it was the October 1st policy group meeting, the last policy group meeting. The policy group then gave direction to the administrators to continue working with EPS, develop a formal agreement for each governing body to consider. That's why we're here tonight. The agreement proposes that all 3 jurisdictions split the cost evenly. The total budget is $48,680. Each jurisdiction's portion would be just north of $16,000. What's really cool is that we've reviewed the eligibility criteria with for the CARES Act, and we believe this project qualifies as a eligible expense, so we would not have to pay out of pocket. Neither would the city of Ouray or Ouray County, for that matter. Really interesting part is eligible costs have to be incurred by the end of this calendar year, so that's December 30th. And I don't know, I feel like that's coming pretty quick. So if the decision's to move forward, there may be a need to pay EPS in advance of completion of the scope of work, which would be unusual, but in my eye necessary, so that each jurisdiction doesn't end up having to pay out of pocket, and we can request reimbursement from DOLA for the CARES Act funding. And it's pretty apparent at this point that the timeline for the scope of work and completion of the project would go into at least early 2021. That's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Preston. Are there any questions or comments for Preston or any other staff on this item?
Seems like a great idea. All covered by CARES.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds awesome. I move to approve the agreement for consulting services with Economic and Planning Systems Incorporated for the development of an economic resiliency plan.
Second.
Eric got under the wire again. Motion's made and seconded. Any other comments? Questions, discussion? Hearing none. There's a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Cheek.
Aye.
Grambly.
Aye.
Lakin.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Schuyler.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. That takes us to item number 17, review and discussion regarding CARES Act funds in general. Preston.
Yeah, so this one kind of piggybacks on the last one. The memo details expenditures the town has incurred so far due to the public health emergency that we are planning to request reimbursement for. Have not submitted that first request. We'll do so here shortly. The numbers in this memo should actually be amended now that you all approved the like a contribution to participate in the development of the economic resiliency plan, if that makes sense. So the list in the memo totals $4,521.93. We have PPE costs that we've incurred over the last several months. We purchased a laptop for a staff member to work remotely, 2 virtual private networks for staff members to access files from the network remotely. Those VPNs are super handy, by the way. 2 outdoor hand sanitizer stations for the town parks. And then this one's really cool, I think. Town had a company come in to complete an audit and gap assessment for Town Hall relative to CDPHE and CDC guidelines. That assessment, we received the results from that assessment on Monday, and I'm happy to report we received an above average score, which is really neat. and they gave us some suggested like tools and remedies to achieve a better compliance rate. So again, that list totals $4,521 with the town's cost of that economic resiliency plan at just north of $16,000. That would take the total to $20,748.93. And with the town's allotted CARES Act funding being at just north of $80,000, there's plenty, there's a lot left, if you will. So the whole point of this item was just to make sure you all are privy to some of the expenses. And, you know, if you all have ideas or thoughts on what we should be spending some of that money on, would love to hear it. I don't want to leave any stone unturned or just not be thinking outside the box, if that makes sense. But just wanted to see if you all had any thoughts on CARES Act funding and stuff we should be purchasing that we haven't already thought of.
And if I'm right, this whatever money remains that unspent by December 30th, it goes away, right?
Yes, sir. That's my understanding. It's use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Now, and just to be clear, that's not to say that I'm I'm not of the mindset like, oh, we need to find whatever it is to spend this money on. I don't know what's going to happen to this money if we don't use it and it ends up going back. I don't know where it's going back to, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. But you know, just want to be strategic here.
Well, I would throw out just kind of surprised that we only bought one laptop for staff members to work remotely. Seems like that's an expense where we could easily rationalize more technology options for people to be able to work remotely, basically. Not that everybody needs to, but seems like having 2 or 3 more would certainly be worth having. Just a thought.
Totally
Yeah.
thinking outside the box. There's been a long discussion about like a vestibule entry for the marshals. Is there a way that we can parlay that into like a safe space where there's for distancing to accomplish some other long-standing goals for town hall?
Love the outside the box thinking. As a matter of fact, that project's slated for completion in the next 2 weeks. Mike Gill's been spearheading that, and we have a contractor coming in to complete that soon.
Okay.
Preston, my other thought is, you know, just looking at, you know, just a little over $200 for PPE. I mean, the reality is this is going to go on for a while, and the need for PPE is going to continue. And I'm wondering if there's still some shortages, but it's not as bad as it was. And I think it would just make sense to stockpile as much as you can probably pull off.
Absolutely.
I agree.
You know, and I think about the marshals, particularly, you know, moving forward in terms of, you know, their interaction with the public can be a little more intimate than they care for sometimes. And, you know, possibility of, you know, fairly high quality face shields for them to use if they need them, in addition to, you know, they should probably in their jobs be using N95s if they're going to have a lot of contact with the public. So I think beefing that up would make a lot of sense.
I totally agree. And Preston, these expenses have to be within town government use, or is there any opportunity for us to buy PPE for local businesses?
You know, that I'll need to explore the eligibility guidance and criteria. I think that if we purchase PPE, of course, that'd be an eligible expenditure, but I don't think there's anything that precludes us in those documents from doling it out to businesses or members of the community.
Because that's one, over the last couple of days, there have been a couple of sort of Zoom town halls with local businesses coordinated by the the county health department and the unified command. And I've been on both those calls, and today's call was mentioned by a couple of Ridgway restaurateurs that they're seeing access to PPE as being a real problem, or they're basically that they're having to spend a lot on it. And if there was a way we could help them with that, that would be awesome.
You know, we also talked about the possibility of doing hybrid council meetings, meaning that you might have a large screen and a camera in the town hall. I wonder if there's any possibility of upping our audio visual equipment.
I like that idea too.
Then there's ETP, extra toilet paper. We could stock up with that ahead of time too.
Let's just invest in a bidet for town hall.
Just one?
I was gonna say we need 2 or 3, I think. They are the latest rage. I see ads for them on Instagram.
Doesn't address water problems.
No, it does not address water.
Cleaner water now.
Anyway, let's not go there too far.
Getting late, getting goofy.
Well, those are all really good ideas. Preston, I'll promise to send other ideas we have your way as we have them.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be tonight. If you think of anything along the line, please call, email, text, carrier pigeon, whatever.
Right.
You know, just going back to John's suggestion in terms of, you know, some of the technology stuff in terms of laptops and VPNs. I mean, you could run into a situation if somebody in town hall tests positive, you could just potentially have almost everybody working from home until the quarantine period was done. So that's something to consider when you're looking at some of this technology piece.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I definitely wrote that note down. It's something we can certainly explore. You know, not everybody, and John, you mentioned this, you know, not everyone has the luxury, at least here on a staff level, of being able to work from home just based on some of their tasks and daily responsibilities.
Right.
But that, you know, there's a good portion that can. So that's something we'll talk about and explore.
You know, and those sort of bullpen spaces that we've created are not ideal for social distancing.
Right.
Okay, that's great. Ready to move on to the next one? Item number 18, consideration of rescission of emergency restrictions on burning and fires within the town of Ridgway.
I don't really have much to say. Would council like to entertain rescinding stage 1 fire restrictions in Ridgway?
Not after today's weather.
And just a thought on this, as my friends and I are sort of panicking about going into colder weather and losing outdoor spaces. You know, yeah, red flags and wind is all bad. But with our surrounding land management agencies going into stage 1, you know, putting maybe at least an expiration sometime, you know, within the month, unless things drastically change. I know there's some of us who are looking forward to maybe having a enclosed fire pit that meets all the town restrictions as a place where we can safely gather as the weather gets colder.
My understanding is that an enclosed chimney kind of thing in town is allowed even under stage 1. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, it makes me nervous. You know, I just don't need people stopping when I'm hanging out with friends being like.
Of course, they may do that anyway. But.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, what's the feeling?
Well, I just think it is so dry.
And windy.
And isn't this about the time the Cow Creek fire happened last year?
Exactly.
Almost exactly. I mean, that's what I'm suggesting, like putting, you know, I don't know if it's going to be like a fall wind thing, if we want to say rescinded as of October 31st, or if we do want to put it off till next month. Kind of looking at being creative with it.
October 31st is only 16, 17 days away.
Yeah,
Not very far.
yeah, I know. I just
With no real change in the future forecast that I can see as I'm researching it. So
I'm ignorantly confused here. We're currently not under stage 1 fire restrictions. Is that right?
No, we are.
the town is, but the rest of the county is not, nor are our surrounding land management agencies.
Town is, but the county is not.
Correct.
So
last council meeting, we decided to re-enter stage 1 because we thought it was the right thing to do.
So we'd be moving to join the county in its current state. Is that what we're saying?
If we
rescind.
go out, yeah, if we rescind.
But that being said, the Gunnison or Grand Mesa Uncompahgre National Forest has left stage 1, but San Juan National Forest just over the way, just over the crest of the mountains, is still in stage 1. So there are some land management agencies in the area, just not immediately contiguous to us.
I'd be willing to push this one out for another month. I'm just not comfortable with the fire situation as it is today, and I realize the county and others have turned things back, but there's still no more water than there has been, and things are dry. It's still windy. I'd be willing to push this off till next month and see if we're in a better position in November to make that call than we are today. This is my fire pit, but
most people in the town, I would assume most people in the town are, if they're having a fire, it's in a fire pit or a chimney. Or I mean, I just built a all steel fire pit myself. I'm a little bit confused as to what the current limitations really limit us. Is it really just for open fires, with no containment whatsoever? I mean, what are we restricting? Because in town, I doubt there's many people that would be having open fires anyway. In the jurisdiction of the town.
That's a good question.
I'll pull that up right now, Terry. I can just cite what it is that falls under stage 1 restrictions.
About like a Forest Service approved fire pit or something of that nature. It was pretty confusing. And I'm not sure how we're enforcing it anyway. Or who enforces it for that matter.
It's like everything else, it's enforced by complaint, or the cops happen to be driving by and they see a giant fire in somebody's backyard. Enforcement is not something we have a lot of capacity for.
Of course, as I recall, the stage 1 also includes like a charcoal grill. It's not acceptable.
No, that's stage 2.
That's right.
So building, maintaining, attending, or using a campfire, except in designated and signed campgrounds and developed recreation sites, is prohibited. Open burning of any kind, including burning of, well, maybe not a charcoal grill, I don't know, of trash or debris, burning of ditches, open charcoal or wood fires, fireworks or the use of explosives, smoking except in an enclosed vehicle or building, disposal of any cigarette anywhere outdoors, operating any chainsaw except with a fire extinguisher and shovel, and welding or use of torch with open flame unless inside an enclosed structure.
I think a Weber charcoal grill is not an open charcoal.
It's not open because it has a lid, just like a fire pit with a lid.
I believe that's the
I think you're right, John. If you're telling me that an enclosed fire pit is okay, that would be the same idea. And then it's stage 2 where it has to have an off switch to be permitted.
Like a propane grill, yeah. Well,
So
it's,
it sounds like we want to table this until next month.
I think I'd be comfortable with that. I mean, it's ironic that we'd be the only entity in the county that still was under stage 1, but it does seem like the responsible thing to do.
It does.
Yeah.
So do we need an extension, Preston, or is this just we
This-
don't want to rescind it?
I think I saw everyone's heads nodding, and which would mean that y'all would take no action on this item, and stage 1 will remain in effect through the November 11th council meeting when you all can revisit. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
I think so too. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We've already dealt with item number 19, so that takes us to item number 20, which has my name on it. I recently was asked by one of the local members of D3, which is basically the website, d3colorado.org. D3 stands for Dedicated to Defending Democracy in Western Colorado. And they have a pledge of decency for and by the people of Colorado's 3rd Congressional District. As patriotic citizens of the United States of America, we, the citizens of Western Colorado, hereby pledge that we, as individuals and representatives of organizations, businesses, and varied political dispositions, will henceforth engage in behavior, language, and actions deemed respectful, kind, tolerant, truthful, non-threatening, and non-violent in all matters of private and public engagement. This encompasses actions demonstrated in person, online, via social or print media, or through any other interpersonal exchange, and thereby supports and promotes considerate, productive dialogues, general civility, and physical and emotional safety at every level of engagement. I just thought I basically told this friend and neighbor that I would bring this up to council. I went ahead and signed it as myself. And if you all are open to having the town council of Ridgway, basically I could go ahead and do it again with either each of your individual names, or you can do it. I can send you the link. Don't need a lot of discussion, just thought I'd bring it up.
It's kind of interesting that we've got to the point where we have to,
isn't it?
Something says we're going to be reasonable, you know?
Well, I think it's just a pledge to stand above the fray and be kind and respectful. But I get your point. It's too bad that we've come to the point where we have to do this, right?
Right.
I'm just noticing the small print at the bottom of the page. This pledge has been endorsed by the Erie County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, because I was going to raise that, D3 does have a history of advocating for a party over another and some of their issue statements. And so just something to be aware of as we sign as a public body.
I mean, they claim to be nonpartisan, but I know they're accused of not being.
Well, I think historically, I think they've shifted things a little bit over time, but I just want to be sure that we're not being partisan.
I guess I would probably amend my putting this on the agenda to say, I just want to let you know that I've signed this pledge and let you know that it exists, and each one of you can make your own decision as to whether you want to sign it under your name as a town councilor of Ridgway as well. And we can leave it at that. It's up to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Send around a link.
I think, it just struck me as a nice idea, but it's not a be all or an end all, and I think it should be up to everyone to decide for themselves whether they think it's important. So probably don't need to spend another minute on it, unless anybody else has any questions or comments. That brings us to written reports. We have the town manager's report in the packet and in front of us. As Preston usually likes to do, I assume he would say it speaks for itself, and if you have any questions or comments about it, I like that you're including sort of staff reports from the different departments in here now, and that's really cool. With updates on things from each department head. I don't know, we can take a vote on the joke for this month.
Please don't. I didn't have like my best stuff, so give me another chance.
I think Russ liked it.
Right.
I do want to actually call your attention to the CDPHE Halloween guidance. I wonder if any of you have gotten questions from folks about how Halloween's supposed to be conducted this year. My understanding is there's not a real answer to that. CDPHE obviously has issued guidance, tips, tricks to help families minimize the risk of catching or spreading COVID. And it's available at the link there. And here in the next several days and leading up to Halloween, I was chatting with Bo about this. Actually, Bo was prodding me to make sure we do this, and I thought it was a great idea. We should have a communication push so that folks in Ridgway and all throughout the county understand what the Halloween guidance is, so that everyone stays as safe as possible. But at the end of the day, there's nothing out there to say that you can't trick or treat. That Terry can't like go door to door and trick or treat like he likes to do normally. So, that was a joke. That was another joke. But so anyway, I just wanted to call your attention to that.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I'm looking at the state site right now. Interesting that the first thing it says is follow local guidance. I've definitely heard and read of some interesting approaches people have created, like buying a piece of 6-inch irrigation sewer drainage pipe, a clean piece, and sending the candy down the pipe, 6-foot piece of pipe to people's bags, encouraging kids to carry bigger bags and actually throw the candy into their bag. I don't think I've heard of anything that is really clear and obvious, other than just to say don't do the typical thing that we always did, which is basically hold out a bowl of candy for kids to select their own. So Preston, you're saying Bo is suggesting that we say put out a one-page set of guidance and distribute that around town?
Yeah, something to that effect. We can do, we have a bunch of communication channels, and we can just in some way, shape, or form, just communicate to folks or encourage folks to check out this guidance. Yeah, we can do a one-pager or something to that effect, but there's a number of ways we can help get the word out so that folks understand what CDPHE recommends.
I think that's a good idea. I think the main things to me, I would say, is that a costume mask isn't necessarily a COVID mask. That seems to me the thing I keep hearing over and over again, needing to be stressed. And then finding creative ways to distribute treats is probably the next most important one in my view. Anybody else have thoughts?
I do. If the fire restrictions don't allow pit fires, we probably need to let people know that, because there are people who have pit fires on Halloween.
Well, that's true.
For the kids.
The church, the Ridgway Community Church won't be happy.
Well, yeah, not just them.
Well, they're one that has a big bonfire in the parking lot as an alternative to Halloween. And I'm sure they're planning to do that again. And if it's not allowed, they're not going to be happy. So thank you for mentioning that. But you're right, there are other people who do it too. What do we think?
I think we have seen, 7 cases in the last 2 weeks in our community, not among kids or, parents of school-age kids, but I think we are seeing cases rise all over the country right now. And I think it would really behoove us not to rain on people's Halloween parade, but remind everyone that we need to remain vigilant, because there's a lot of, as weird as things are, our kids are in school, most of our businesses are functioning in some way, and we need to remember that Halloween is a one-day thing that's happening, and we need to be cautious.
Would agree.
I certainly don't want to end up back here teaching from this position where I am talking to you guys from.
If we just linked these guidelines or linked on the town website, under on the front page or the home page.
I'm sorry, Terry, I didn't understand that.
What if we link these guidelines on our homepage on the website?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great thought, Terry. That was part of the, that's definitely something we'll do for sure.
Yep. What do we think? I mean, do we want to reconsider the fire decision we made a minute ago, or do we want to just bite the bullet and let everybody know that they can't have open fires for Halloween this year?
When I said the 31st, I was told that's only 16 days away and there's no significant change coming.
Eric, did you hear the discussion?
No, sorry. I had nursing duties.
When we were talking about Halloween, Pam brought up the good point that there are a number of people in the community that like to have a bonfire on Halloween. And I mentioned the Ridgway Community Church being the big one. I'm sure there are others, but based on what we decided a minute ago, those would not be allowed.
Yeah. And I still, I don't know, and maybe I'm just being overly cautious, but, looking at the experiences of, and granted, we're not in quite the same boat, but looking at the experiences of people in Oregon and California, we just don't want to be doing anything to contribute. I mean, high wind could carry those embers up and out of town, and just doesn't make sense. Just to me at this point, particularly a big bonfire. Just my 2 cents.
Yep. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just knowing that.
Yeah.
Realizing that there are going to be some unhappy people, but that's our job, is to make people unhappy.
I mean, we're gonna take heat, because if people are upset, they're gonna say Uray County doesn't, the city of Uray doesn't, the Forest Service doesn't, the Forest Service being theoretically the people with experts. So we're gonna be standing out on our own. So
okay.
We all know that's the case then.
That's for those who know that we have something different than the county. I didn't even know that. I should let them know.
I literally find it hard to believe that the county has rescinded their stage 1 fire restrictions given the current conditions. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
There was a lot of discussion throughout the Western Slope I was gauging about hunters wanting fires.
That's exactly it.
Yep. Which is how the Cow Creek fire started last year, I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm willing to take the heat. I think, no pun intended, that it feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's why we get the big bucks.
Okay. So on the Halloween guidance staff, you guys have your marching orders?
We do, yeah. We'll start getting the word out here shortly. So, but just wanted to draw your attention to that particular item. I thought that was a good conversation, so thanks for that. And then just in terms of the rest of the town manager's report, if you all have any questions on anything, I'd be happy to talk through any of the stuff in here or stuff that's not in here. I mean, I could probably go on and on and on. I would like at the bottom of the first page, the Revitalizing Main Streets Program grant application we submitted to CDOT was successful. We were awarded $50,000 to complete the stop bar, or what we're calling the multimodal safety enhancement project. We'll improve the stop bars and crosswalk markings around town, and then add some better bike symbols to the bike lanes and the paved roadways.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's really cool that we landed that. I was in on the early discussions of that, and I'm so glad it worked out. Very cool. So many other things moving along, like the pavilion out in the park, out in the soccer fields.
Does anybody have any questions on CML's positions on some of the ballot questions? That information was pretty much taken verbatim from the CML website.
Already voted.
Already voted.
Already
I thought
voted.
that some of their things are not the way I have not voted yet. They're not the way I plan to vote. Mostly because CML is always about, you know, what gives the municipalities of the state their maximum flexibility in dealing with issues that might affect them, whether it be financially or otherwise. And so the Family Medical Leave Insurance Enterprise, surprised that they were opposed to that, but not terribly surprised when I realized that they're just don't want anything to interfere with the municipality's ability to determine our own terms and conditions of employment for our employees. So I just thought that was worth noting. I hope everybody is telling all their friends and neighbors to vote yes on Amendment B. That's a huge one for all of us. Gallagher one. Any other questions for Preston?
Shane, I see Shane still on the line. Is he there?
Yeah, looks like it.
Shane, just a FYI, I had a safety committee meeting today at San Diego Power, and they did put in for the 2021 budget the Alice training that you'll be a part of for our active shooter training at the utility.
Right.
You kind of referencing that. I wasn't sure you referred to us or not, but it will go forward, COVID dependent, of course, but it has been budgeted for. And Shane's graciously volunteered to be part of that training, which would take place in both of our offices here, one in Ridgway and one in Nuclear.
Sounds good.
That's great. I've tried to unmute Shane, but he might be doing something else right now. I'll mention that tomorrow.
That reminds me, some separate, some of you may or may not know, some of you know, some of you don't. I'm part of a local men's group. We call ourselves MEND, which is not really an acronym, but our full name of our organization is Men Ending Rape Culture, or at least trying to. We've actually communicated with Elaine Wood, the local victims advocate. We've scheduled a training for November 14th, I believe it is. Hoping to do that at Town Hall. I need to get with Steve and Pam about that. Be a 3-hour training in victims advocacy, domestic violence. I think there's even a gun safety component for this 3-hour training, but it'd be publicly open to the public and something that we think would be hopefully helpful, and we'll be advertising that, just so you know. Anything else? So that takes us to, sorry, did somebody going to say something? That takes us to council committee reports. And I think this, Tessa, do you want to tell council about your situation, or are you?
I was, sure.
If you're not comfortable Yeah, that's fine. I'm just not sure where you're at.
Yeah, I was kind of going to wait until I had like a firm date, but I guess just to give you guys a heads up, there have been some developments in my life that are a little bit unexpected and kind of sad. And so unfortunately, I will be relocating, kind of moving away from Ridgway in the next couple of months here. My house actually goes on the market tomorrow. So I've been chatting with Preston and Pam, and I really just want to thank you all so much for it's been amazing to be your colleagues, and I will, I think, stay on as long as I can. But I do want to give you guys a heads up that transition is approaching, and as soon as I have more clarity in terms of a departure date, I will certainly be making that public. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Sad.
Yeah, we all empathize, and we'll be very sorry to see you go. No question.
It's really been such an honor and such a pleasure to do this work and to be in this community. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any?
Very helpful, and so you're going to be missed.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I'm not hearing anybody jump up with any committee reports or anything. I had one other thing I wanted to bring up with council. It's about the use of the stage. Some of you probably remember going through a process with Pam and Jen at least a year ago, maybe a little longer, about fees for use of town property and town facilities. And we ended up putting in a fairly steep fee for use of the stage. And I've had a number of requests to use the stage from nonprofits, and I'd like us to consider, especially in this current climate that we don't know how long will go on, of being able to have a bit more of a sliding scale for the use of the stage for nonprofits. For instance, Weehawken, their really extensive dance classes that they do, they're not going to be able to use the pavilion for their dance performances for the foreseeable future. And for them to be able to do dance performances on the stage for socially distanced groups of families and friends would be really helpful for them. And that's just one example of a use that I think we should consider maybe allowing on a somewhat cheaper basis. So if just want to kind of take the temperature of the council to see if you guys are willing to explore some alternative pricing fee structure for use of facilities like that.
I think I'm going to say on a temporary basis, till this current crisis sort of economically gets under a little better control. I think that would make some sense. I think on long term, I think we need to make, from a fiscally responsive standpoint, we need to make sure we're covering some of those town costs. So, but I'm all for it in a short term. That short term could be a couple of years, depending on how things go. But yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think this helps us maintain some of our creative things that are happening in our community that may otherwise disappear before we're ready to be back to a more normal situation. And we have the resource, let's do it.
Yeah. It might open up the opportunity for smaller groups in our community, to use that stage and just still have a place to meet and do their things. I'm all for it. I like the idea.
I think it also just encourages people to be safe. I'm afraid we're going to see people wanting to move to indoor situations before that's okay if we can't help facilitate other options.
Yeah, good point.
How does that going to apply to the new pavilion? Is it going to be a similar use structure for that?
No,
Not sure we've heard that yet. Yeah.
because it didn't exist when we created those, that use structure for town facilities back, it's probably been well over a year at this point. So,
Well, and it just, to me, it points out how so many of our town structures are basically, obviously, just outdoor structures that can be used by pretty much anyone, anytime, without really much impact. I mean, for instance, the pavilion at the north end of Hartwell Park, the picnic pavilion, as Pam was calling it. And just so, quick tangent, just so everybody knows, I've been spearheading an effort to get that pavilion renamed for a couple of long-term community super volunteers, Dick and Emmy Spyrek, who passed away this year. They were just really the most amazing community activists and volunteers that this whole county has seen in many years, and they just both passed away this year within a week of each other. So we're pretty close to confirming. I mean, I think it's pretty much a done deal. It's just a matter of getting the plaque made and everything at this point to rename that picnic pavilion the Spyrek Pavilion. But that's an example of a structure that's used year-round by people just stopping and seeing if there's a place with a covered roof and some picnic tables. The pavilion out at the soccer fields is going to be much the same. It's not, that one's a little more elaborate in that it will have kitchen and vending facilities for soccer tournaments and whatnot. But all of that's going to be locked off most of the time, and it'll be just an open space with a lot of picnic tables again. So I don't see that we have the need to create a fee for people to go use it for a family gathering, for instance, something like that. But certainly something we should discuss and look into. And we want people to be responsible about cleaning up after themselves. So that's probably the biggest issue. But those are my thoughts, unless anybody else wants to.
Getting access to the concession portion of it probably would require reservations of a fee or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be different. And actually, I guess I'll be curious to see if the anonymous donors they say they want to have some say in how that's structured and who gets to. That's a really interesting question. We've already obviously had some issues with the whole naming of the soccer fields question and all that, but I don't know if staff, do you know if they've had any input on or want input on how the use of that thing is controlled or allocated?
No, I don't believe that's been a part of the agreement or the understanding. It was simply they wanted to see a structure built. They wanted a portion. They wanted the field or a portion of the field to be named Frontier Field, and that's the extent of it, I believe. I'll check in with Shay, but I don't believe they wanted any say in how, programming or use of the pavilion, if you will.
Okay, good to know.
So, Mayor, if I may, just to circle around, what you were initially proposing was lowering or getting rid of the stage use fee. Is that right?
Well, at the very least, a sliding scale. And to be honest, the gals at Weehawken, Tricia and Ashley, have actually come to me and said they're willing to give us a formal proposal on what they'd like to see us consider for a different fee structure. I don't know. I can ask them to do that if you guys are open to that, or whether you want to just ask staff to explore. I mean,
that might create a good starting point, at least, to look at.
They're a super active nonprofit that'll give us some ideas about what feels comfortable to them.
Okay.
And then that can maybe go to staff who could look at that and figure out if that will work for town, at least for the short term.
Okay. I'll tell Trish that we'd love to see them submit something to Preston and Pam, and then they can take it to us. Does that sound good, Preston?
Yes, sir. That sounds great.
Okay. All right. I think we're all meetinged out, zoomed out. Anybody have anything else?
Real quick, Mayor, just to recap, budget meeting on Saturday, or budget retreat Saturday. Thanks for taking a portion of your Saturday to talk budget. 9 a.m. to noon. The agenda is in the Dropbox folder. It's already been published, so please take a look at it whenever you have a chance, just to get a sense of what's on the docket. 9 a.m. to noon will be on the Zoom meeting platform. We'll break right around the noon hour for lunch, what have you, and then 30 minutes later, give or take, we can congregate at the soon-to-be named Spirek Pavilion.
Great.
Okay. Yep. I just wanted to recap, make sure I had it right. So looking forward to Saturday.
Yep. And my calendar entry has a Zoom link on it already. If anybody doesn't have the Zoom link, just get a hold of Pam or Preston for that.
Then we've got joint policy group meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, joint policy group meeting tomorrow night. If some or all of you can make it, I know it's a lot. I really do.
Hopefully that one won't be as long as last week's.
Yeah, hopefully not. John, I'm looking forward to you making a request or at least broaching the subject of having them monthly.
I think that's important. Okay. Is there anything else? I don't hear any other comments or requests for action or business. I will assume that everyone is okay with me saying this meeting is adjourned.
All right, guys.
See y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Night.
Are you ready for dinner?